This is case number 276 on the calendar in the matter of Fabian versus Encinas. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
Ms. Fabian, according to your complaint, you and the defendant dated for a long period of time, and you did what I've always admonished people not to do, which is loan money.
Yes.
And you made 2 loans to the defendant, according to your complaint, totaling about $5,000.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes.
He repaid some of the loans.
That is correct. He paid back $1,600.
And
That was 2,000, I'm sorry.
just one second.
2,000.
Get to you. According to you, he paid back $1,600. He says it was $2,000 he paid back, and that the rest of the money was a gift from you for some reason that he will explain to me, and he also did a lot of work around your house. So we'll get to it. When did you make the first loan, and what was it for?
The first check was for $3,000 on November 12th of '99, and December 17th of '99, I gave him another check for $2,000, and both of them were a loan, and I have copies of the checks here.
I'd like to see them, please. What did he need the money for?
He had a business at the time, and he was unable to pay his bills. He owed money to the government for taxes that he didn't pay.
This is not made out to him.
It's made out to his business.
What kind of business were you in?
It was a food delivery service.
When did he make the first payments to repay this loan?
On September 22nd, 2000. And I have copies of all the checks.
I'd like to see the checks, please.
That was August 25th, 2000, Your Honor.
I assume you have a check.
Yeah, I have one check that she does not, for $400.
I'd like to see it.
And the money I did receive from him, I had a difficult time getting. I had to keep calling him up.
Just a minute. I have a check here for $400 that you don't list. Would you show this to her?
Yeah.
Okay. It's clear. You both agree now. He repaid $2,000, leaving a balance of $3,000. Right?
Correct, yes.
Go.
Well, first of all, Your Honor, this whole lawsuit is a joke. She's doing this out of revenge.
Listen to me. Not interested. Start from, I stopped paying back the loan because.
I stopped paying back the loan because I already paid her everything that I owed her.
Explain it to me.
The first $3,000 check that you see was a loan for taxes that I owed. After she had received a settlement for a different case, we had been broken up at the time, she called me up, and it was more like a bribe to get back with me.
Your Honor, he's lying.
She had been trying to get back together with
Are
me.
you talking about the $3,000 loan was a loan, according to you?
That was a loan, yeah.
Let's start with that. The $3,000 loan was a loan. You acknowledge it was a loan, which means there's still $1,000 outstanding on that amount.
Exactly. I did $1,000 worth of work on her porch.
Explain that to me.
I had been working on her porch for 3 months, and she mentioned to me verbally.
When did you
This
work on her
was
porch?
in November '99.
Yes.
Because of the work I had been doing, I had just closed my business. I did not get a job at the time because I was helping her. She told me that I did not have to pay her $1,000 out of the $3,000 that I owed her.
I never said that, Your Honor.
Because you were fixing her porch?
Yeah.
Can I say
She should
something?
know.
It was 3 months worth of work. It's a whole remodeling job.
Did you live there at all?
I would stay there. I did not live
I didn't ask you what technically. Technically. That has to do with the IRS. I'm asking you whether you stayed there.
I would stay there once in a while.
Not once in a while. More often than
Well,
once in a while.
I would live there and at my parents' house.
And at your parents' house, where you
Yeah.
paid no rent.
No, I paid rent there.
Can I say
So
something,
just
Your
a,
Honor?
in a second. I'm not finished with him yet. So you're staying at her house where you weren't paying rent, right? Using her telephone, lighting your reading by her electricity, and fixing her porch,
Yeah, correct.
and not working anywhere else.
Correct.
So you had no more.
There
you
was
had
a
no
reason
money.
why I didn't work, Your Honor.
And why is that?
Because she wouldn't let me.
Wouldn't wouldn't let you?
She wouldn't let me.
Wouldn't let you. What did she threaten to do to you if you went to work?
She,
No, tell me. I'm
It was
curious.
more
Shit,
like
don't
a-
laugh, please. I want to know what she threatened to do to you if you got a job.
it was more like an emotional type of thing. You know what I mean?
An emotional thing. Was she working?
At the time, she was not.
How was she supporting herself?
Through a large sum of money she had received through a different
So
lawsuit.
she wasn't working either. So the two of you were staying home playing house together?
Basically.
Basically.
I was working, Your Honor.
Of course you were.
Your
Okay. So you fixed the porch, and for that you want a $1,000 credit. Now tell me about the other $2,000 that she gave you 4 weeks later.
After I was not working, I decided that I needed to get a job because the Christmas holidays were coming up. She told me that she did not want me to work. She had a problem with me hanging around friends. She wanted to keep me to herself in the house, hanging out with her.
That's a lie.
Just a minute. Go ahead.
And out of stupidity, I know that now, I would go along with it.
So?
But I didn't realize this until I left.
So I guess she wanted you hanging around with her. I still haven't heard anything about $2,000.
Oh, she told me that because I wanted to get a job, she was going to give me $2,000 in order to keep me from not working.
And that was at a time
That was
when
a
you had-
gift.
Just a second. And you just told me that your business folded in November,
Correct.
right? So you had no more business.
Correct.
Well, then can you explain to me why, sir, the check that she wrote December 17th, 99 is made out to the same corporation that the check of November 12th was made out to, Doorway Gourmet?
Yes, because I still had my checking account for Doorway Gourmet open because I still owed money to the Florida state tax.
Right!
That's true.
Right. So the money was not so that, according to you, it was Christmas time and you had to buy presents, and that's why you had to go back to work. Stop shuffling, sir. Much smarter than you are. On your best day, you're not as smart as I am on my worst day. So let me recap what you just told me. You told me that she gave you the other $2,000 because it was coming up to Christmas time. You wanted to get a job because I assume you wanted to buy presents and things for your family.
Correct.
And so she said to you, don't go to work. I'm going to give you $2,000 so that you'll have spending money for Christmas. Then it turns out that the check was made out to the defunct corporation that was no longer in business. And then you told me it was because you needed it to pay Florida state taxes from the business. Right? Is that what you told me?
That's correct.
Do those two stories they sort of go like this to you? That they don't make sense? Huh? You wanted to give the Florida State Tax Board a Christmas present? Is that what you're telling me?
No, I wouldn't do
No.
that.
Get a life.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carrie Fabian says ex-boyfriend Mario Encinas refuses to repay a loan and refuses to turn over an intimate videotape.
Okay.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
What?
I
I don't like stupid women. Stupid women give money away.
You're right. I've learned.
Okay.
I've learned. Believe me.
Okay. You know, if you're married to somebody, it's one thing. Even if you're married, you don't give money away. But if you got a boyfriend who can't keep a business straight enough to pay taxes from the business, you don't give him money.
Well, you know, at the time, we were going out for 3 years, and he told me he'd pay me back, and I trusted him. I realize now never to do that again.
Okay, well, he owes you the money.
He did lie about, he said that he didn't live with me. If you'll look at the checks, you'll even notice it's my same address. And also, he has a private videotape that we made together, and he told me that he has it, and he's taunted me about it, and I would like it back so I could destroy it.
That's a lie. I did not taunt anybody about
You
that.
have a video that she would like to have back?
No, Your Honor.
Where is it?
It's been misplaced. It's either been taped over or misplaced. I did honestly look for it because
Miss
I have no
Fabian.
reason to keep that.
Miss Fabian, comes under the category of life's lessons. I assume this video that you have has both of you on it or just
Yes.
you? Has both of you on it. So that it's neither yours nor his. It's something that belongs to both of you, right? So you would like it back because you don't want this potentially damaging thing
Correct. Yeah.
around. Well, I can't force him to give it back to you because it's not yours. Do you understand?
Yes.
He says he doesn't have it anymore. I have to rely on the fact that he is not total scoundrel and would not do anything to embarrass you. Because if he does anything to embarrass you, ultimately he's embarrassing and debasing himself. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000.
Thank
That's
you,
all.
Your Honor.
All you are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy's seen the truth, and she's seen through his lies.
Revenge, because I broke up with her.
I was the one that broke up with him.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Trudell versus Boyd. Step forward, please.
38-year-old salesperson Lori Trudell is suing her ex-roommate, 45-year-old hairstylist Kathleen Boyd, for the return of her belongings. Kathleen is countersuing for unpaid rent, storage fees, and damage to her home.
According to your complaint, there came a time when you and your son moved into her home. When did you move in with her?
in September of the year 2000.
And then it is your claim that she threw you out of the house, had you thrown out of the house sometime in January of 2001, under circumstances that prevented you for some reason from obtaining all of your property. The defendant says that you really abandoned that property. You did, in fact, show up at her house some 8.5 months later and loaded up a couple of truckloads of stuff. She wants to be reimbursed for rent that she says you never paid her, and for what she believes would be a fair storage fee for storing the stuff that she did, in fact, store over that 8.5-month period. Is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay. You moved in September of 2000. Under what circumstances did you leave in January of 2001?
She had me removed by 2 undercover police officers, and 5 days later I was given an order of protection saying I could not go back to her home.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Yes.
She was removed by the sheriff's detectives because she had used my car to commit 2 felonies.
When was that?
On December 8th, she took my car and drove to the home of an ex-boyfriend of hers and broke in.
How do you know that?
She told me she was going to do it because he had money, and she owed me money for rent, and she was going to try to pay me with money that he had stored in a beer ball.
How do you know she did, in fact, commit that burglary?
When I got up in the morning, my car was gone. I said to myself, oh no, Lori never got up that and took off with my car before in the morning. Sure enough, she showed up and she was dragging bags full of money, change.
Change.
And
Did you have a discussion with her about the change?
she said she was going to take it to the bank and cash it in.
Now, did there come a time that the police came to your house?
Yes, on January 11th. And they wanted to question me about the incident in December. They told me I wasn't in any trouble. She had been spotted in the car that morning on her own without
Did you show them
me
where
there.
the change was stored, or had the change already been cashed?
Change had already been cashed.
Did she
Your
give you
Honor.
the money from the change?
She gave me some money from the change.
And the money that she gave you from the change was for money that she owed you from rent?
Rent and all sorts of different things.
How much did she give you?
$200.
Were you arrested for burglary on the 11th of January?
Yes, Your Honor, I
What's
was.
the disposition of that case?
All charges have been dropped, and I have a conditional discharge for a year. The
Well,
thing
no,
was,
all charges weren't dropped if you have a
Oh,
conditional
I'm sorry.
discharge.
I'm sorry. The thing was is I did use Kathleen's car. Kathleen asked me to do this. I gave her all of the money, and there was some jewelry that I did take from there that Kathleen wanted to keep. I was upset because it was my boyfriend's gifts to another woman, and
Okay.
he has forgiven me, and everything's over with.
Okay. And it was at that time that you got a protective order, is that right?
Yes, because
I'd like to see a copy of the protective order. This protective order doesn't say anything about you being able to leave your property at her house for 8.5 months.
Oh, I realize that, Your Honor. I
Okay,
tried
I'm
for
just telling you.
weeks. I tried for months for a third party to get a hold of her to get my belongings, and she would not allow it. This is my brother-in-law-to-be, Patrick O'Hearn. He called her. He wrote her letters. She said yes, he could go get my belongings, and then she changed her mind. She would call him
Your Honor.
day and night.
she's lying.
Well, step up,
It's
your
blatant
son.
lying.
Just a second. When did you make telephone calls to the defendant in order to try to obtain her property? When was the first telephone call you made to her?
It was about the middle of July. I was
July
there. Yes,
was the first time you contacted her.
yes.
She is now required to keep your property for 6 months.
I realize that,
Why
Your
didn't
Honor.
you go to court in February for the return of your property?
I did not know that that was an option.
Your Honor.
When I was given the order of protection, the judge's secretary said, Lori, as soon as you get a place to live, Kathleen will give you your belongings and she will keep them safe.
Your Honor.
The judge's secretary, Rita, told you, don't worry, as soon as you find a place to live, she'll give you back your property.
When they issued the order of
That's not an
protection.
agreement with the defendant. When did you finally find a place to live?
I was in a shelter for about 2 months.
Yes.
April, beginning of April.
Well,
That's
what
when
effort
his
did
brother
you...
was trying to make phone calls with her.
No, he didn't start calling till the summertime,
No,
6 months
his
later.
brother, my
I don't-
fiance.
No.
That, just a minute.
Pat
That
was the
person's
first
not...
one that
Shh.
called. Excuse
That
me.
person's not here. In any event, Ms. Trudell, she is under absolutely no obligation to safeguard your property for 6 months or 8 months while you find a place to live. And that is irrespective of what Miss Rita had to say. Miss Rita cannot make a contract with her. And you had no agreement with her. You did, in fact, get some of your stuff back. Is that right?
Mostly ruined. Yes, Your Honor.
Well, she is not responsible for storing your property. If you had an order of protection that was issued, then what you do is, the very next day, you go into small claims court and you sue her for the property. But you don't wait 9 months to do that.
I wanted to wait, Your Honor, until this case was closed, and the judge told me I could go get my belongings.
You mean until the burglary case was closed? That may be, but she is not a party to that. Now I'll see
understand
what
that.
piece of paper. You may have a piece of paper that sheds some
Yes,
additional light
I
on it.
did have her served by the Sheriff's Department.
Can I see the paper?
Sure.
Well, she wrote you this letter, and it was notarized in March, and it was served on you, and she tells you to come and get your stuff.
Yes, Your Honor.
But you didn't.
That was when the third party, because I couldn't contact her directly because of the order of protection, that was when my fiancé, the third party, first
He's not
called
here.
her.
He wasn't
He's-
in the picture at
He's
that
not
point,
here.
Your
First
Honor.
called
He's
her.
not here.
No,
Mr. Dell,
that is not
whatever
true.
stuff that you got,
You're
I would
lying.
suggest you be happy with it, because that's all you're going to get from the defendant. You can't make an arrangement with a third party, a judge's secretary, who says, I never heard of that. Just go, as soon as you find a nice place to live, you can go and get your
She
property
told me
back,
she
and she's
would
going
keep
to
my
store it.
belongings safe.
Well, then I would sue her. Who said they would keep your belongings safe? Rita?
Rita told me Kathleen
Rita
told her that
Rita
she would
said
keep
she
my
would keep your belongings safe? Rita
Yes.
said that to you?
Yes.
So sue Rita. Sue Rita. It's ridiculous. Now I'm going to get to your claim of rent, storage fees, and damage to the home, Miss Boyd. And let me explain to you why you're going to get nothing. Because based upon your own testimony, you were in receipt of stolen property. Based on your testimony, you knew where she got this change from. You knew she had stolen it from somebody else's home. And I'm quite frankly astonished that the police didn't pursue that matter. But that's up to the police. In any event, you got whatever money you're going to get. Goodbye.
In the matter of Brody versus Koenig's Connect. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Mr. Brody, you went over to a friend's house to visit. You pulled your car into your friend's driveway, right?
That's correct.
The defendant also lives in the house. She arrived sometime later. It is your claim that she pulled her car right up to the bumper of your car, gave it a little bit of a nudge. Nudge? Nudge? No.
Nudge.
Thank you. Nudge is what I am.
No.
No, nudge is what
call
you
for.
are. Nudge, nudge. And she damaged the back end of your car.
Yeah, the rear bumper.
The rear bumper of your car. You wanted to pay the damage. When did this happen?
It was June 2nd,
What time did you arrive at your friend's house?
about 6 or 7 p.m. after dinner. We'd gone out to pick up dinner.
And was yours the only car parked in the driveway?
When I parked the car, yes, it was.
When did you see any damage to the car?
We came outside about 11 o'clock. What happened is that she had come home while we were inside, obviously, and we went outside, the witness and I, and one of the roommates who had her keys. At this house, the parking is a very difficult situation, so all of the roommates leave their keys downstairs, and everyone has permission to move each other's cars. So we went outside, and
Because you wanted to leave?
yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So when we got outside, I saw that the cars were parked in very close proximity. Her front bumper was touching my rear bumper, and it was dark out. So I had him move her car back and shine her headlights on my rear bumper. And as he backed up, I saw scratches and chips on my bumper that hadn't been there before line up with her metal license plate as he backed off.
What kind of car did you have?
I drive a Volvo S70,
And what kind of car does she drive?
a Ford Explorer,
Big car.
big car.
Did you speak to her about it?
Yes, we went inside, and one of the roommates got her from upstairs. She came downstairs, and I asked her if she knew if she may have touched my car, and she said indeed she had. She had tried to move it forward a couple feet.
Ludicrous.
I don't want to hear you yet.
I'm sorry.
She tried to move it forward a couple feet because she was sick of getting tickets for having her car hanging over the edge of the driveway because it's the city's property and you can get tickets for that. And she also said that she thought that people did that all the time, and she thought she could move it because her car was an SUV and mine wasn't, so she didn't think it would be a problem. And I told her that there was damage on my car that hadn't been there before, and I expected her to pay for it. She said that was okay. She apologized. She asked me if I knew how much it was going to be. I told her that I didn't, but I thought it would probably be a couple $100s. I offered to let her go outside and look at the damage. She declined to do that. I told her that I'd call her with an estimate. She said that was fine, gave me her phone number, and I left.
And did you call her with an estimate?
I called her 11 days later with an estimate for $307, which I have right here.
Why didn't you go outside and look at the car?
First of all, he had never
No,
asked.
just a second. I asked you a question. My question to you is, why didn't you go outside to look at the car?
Well, there's a problem with that statement, and that is that he never asked me to go out and look at the car.
Did he tell you that he believed that your car had caused damage to his?
No, all that he said was that, you know, I noticed the cars were very close. If there should be a problem, can I give you a call? And I said, absolutely. Here's my phone number. I knew that there wasn't any damage done because I knew I hadn't hit his car. I expected to hear from him if there was a problem. 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 5 days later, no call. I assumed there was nothing wrong and that I was indeed correct, that I hadn't damaged his car. All of a sudden,
That doesn't
2 weeks
answer my
later-
question. Clearly, when he came inside and spoke to you, you had some indication that he believed that there might be some damage to the car. Clearly, because you just told me you waited 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. So an intelligent person would say, well, let's go outside with some flashlights and take a look at it right now and see if, in fact, there was any damage. So I'm going to repeat my question. Why didn't you, at that point, go outside and take a look at the car?
Because he didn't say there was any risk of damage, and so I didn't think
So
there
you
was
just
anything
gave
to
me your
look at.
phone number because you thought he wanted your phone number?
Well, you know, he is kind of cute. You never know. Maybe we can go on a date. I'm kidding. Anyway.
I'm not. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $307. That's all.
Ooh, parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, I'd just like to give a shout out to my E-Town girls, all my UMich girls, 6 Bart, and K13 family. Mwah.
Well, I think Judge Judy's big line is beauty fades, but dumb is forever. And as soon as her beauty fades, I think she'll just be dumb forever.
And now the next case.
All parties on Hugin Merrill versus Leyugan. Step forward.
46-year-old nurse Michelle Morel and her daughter, 16-year-old Jessica Hugin, are suing Jessica's former friend, 18-year-old student Ann Leyugan, for keying her car at school.
What is your name?
Michelle Merle.
How are you related to her?
I'm her mother.
And this was your car that was involved?
It's her car, but I'm the registered owner of it, but
Okay,
it's her
that's
car.
why you're here.
Yes.
Okay, but you had nothing to do with this case. You didn't see anything. You weren't there.
No.
Good. Have a seat. According to your complaint, the defendant used to be a friend of yours. She's no longer a friend of yours. You started dating a boy that used to be her boyfriend.
Yes.
Is that right?
That's correct.
And according to you, that's when the trouble started between the two of you, and the defendant keyed your car. And this was at the school parking lot.
Yes.
So tell me what happened on that date.
I went to the school to pick up a friend, and she had decided to go with someone else, and so I was getting ready to leave, and I saw Ann's car at the end of the parking lot, and I did not want another incident like the first one that had happened, and so I turned around and went back to the school, and I got out of my car, and I saw Ann following me into the school, and so I just kept walking, and she's behind me saying that I'm going to knock your teeth out, and so I just kept walking into the school. And I went into the office, and I saw Ann and her sister walk by the office, look at me, and then they turned back around and went outside of the school. I was on the phone with my mom at that time, and then I went to the windows, and I had saw Ann and her sister walk by the driver's side of my car, and then that's it.
That's what you saw?
Yeah.
There came a time when you went back outside to your car?
When my mom and her friend had shown up at the school.
So you waited inside until they came?
Yeah.
And the reason you called your mother was to sort of escort you out of the school?
Yeah.
Because you were afraid of a confrontation with her?
Yeah.
And describe what you saw when you went to your car.
My mom's friend actually had noticed the side of the car.
Don't tell me what anybody else noticed. Tell me what you saw.
I saw that the whole entire side of my driver's side had been keyed, from the front of the car to the end of the car.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 16-year-old Jessica Hugin says former friend, 18-year-old Ann Leyugan, keyed her car. Ann is denying the charge.
Let me see the photographs, which I'm sure you have. Okay, I'll hear you.
I just know that I picked up my sister once after I had my baby. My baby was maybe, I think, 2 weeks old. I went there to pick up my sister. She was with my former teacher, and Josh, my fiance, was on his way with my son. He's a witness to what happened, and me and my sister, we just went back into the school to show my former teacher the baby. I walked back over to Josh's car and I left, and I never even keyed her car. She doesn't even go to school there. She goes to an alternative school, and I would never key her car. I didn't even know what she drove. When I stopped being friends with her, she was only 15 years old.
Do you have any witnesses who were there?
Yeah, my fiance.
Step up. Tell me your last name.
Caps, Joshua Caps.
You are the father of her child?
Yes, I am.
What time did you arrive at the school that day?
No later than after Ann showed up. She was outside, and I saw her sister talking to her former teacher.
Approximately what time?
Like 2:36.
So before you arrived, you don't know what she was doing?
No.
So she was there alone with her sister?
Yeah, and Mrs., which was the teacher.
Outside when you saw her?
Yeah.
And after you saw her, you showed Mrs. the baby?
Ann and her sister came up to me right when I parked in the parking lot. They told me that they were going to run inside and show Mrs. her son, and they went inside and came right back out.
When you arrived, the girls had already parked their car?
Yeah.
And were standing outside the school?
Yes.
She came up to you in the parking lot?
Ann and her sister did, yes.
Took the baby and went back inside?
Yes.
Then came outside?
Mm-hmm.
Did you wait for her?
Yeah.
Did she leave with you or with her sister?
She took her car, and she took her sister. She was there to pick up her sister, and I followed them.
So she drove alone to the school if she was there to pick up her sister?
Yeah.
Why do you think that she would make up this story about seeing you going over near her car?
Because she's mad because I just stopped being friends with her. And
yeah, but her car got keyed.
There was a lot of people at that school that didn't like her, which is why she decided to drop out of that school and go to the alternative, because she didn't get along with a lot of people.
She wasn't there that long. She wasn't at school that long that day.
I don't know how long she was there.
Well, she didn't go to school there. She wasn't there for the whole day.
Well, I went to pick up my sister.
Talking about her. Step up, please. Did you see the car that morning?
Yes, I saw the car the whole day until Jessie went to school to pick up her friend.
When you say you saw the car the whole day, she left from your house to go to the school to pick up her friend?
Yes, and that's about maybe 3 miles, 4 at the most.
But you had seen the car?
Yes.
No question in your mind?
No question in my mind whatsoever.
There was no damage to the car when she left?
No. Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm not sure if this is the time to bring this up. We also, you were talking about Jessica being afraid, and that's why she went back in the school. We have an anti-harassment order against Ann for protection, and I have a copy of that if you want to see that. This is the one that
Your
we
Honor,
had filed,
I also
Your Honor.
have, since she's gotten a restraining order, she has been in my work asking for my new address, and I have affidavits of people that I work with.
And this is the court copy that was actually granted. And Jessica had a baby on the 21st of June and was in the hospital she was released on Saturday. And then she was home, so I'm not sure
I have affidavits of
I don't read affidavits.
What?
I don't read affidavits.
Okay, well, I have them.
Okay, whether you have them or not, I hear witnesses. You attended a court hearing?
Yes, we did, Your Honor.
Was there a full hearing?
Yes.
There was testimony taken. Is
Yes.
that right? And after the testimony is taken, there was a protective order issued. Is that right?
Yes.
Do you have a lawyer?
I work full-time, and I'm a full-time college student, and I had to pay my rent. I can't afford a lawyer.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, the court made specific findings after a hearing. The testimony with regard to the application for the protective order dealt with 2 incidents. First incident, which we have not gone into today, which involves a stalking, threatening kind of incident, and then the second incident which involved the school. The court heard the testimony of all witnesses. How many witnesses were there aside from both of you? Any other witnesses?
Him, my fiance, my mom, and my sister.
The court found that the current contact between the parties was initiated by the respondent only, that's you, that the respondent's course of conduct appears to be designed to alarm, annoy, and harass the petitioner, that was her, Contact by the respondent with the petitioner or the petitioner's family has not been limited in any manner by previous court order, which means there was no prior restraining order. And the court ordered you to remain from making any attempts to contact her, going within 2 city blocks of her residence or workplace.
She doesn't work.
Well, evidently the court didn't believe your fiancé or your sister.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I have to make a determination based upon the testimony that I've heard today, and the testimony that I've heard today that I find most credible is that you keyed her car. Can I please see an estimate of the damage?
Your Honor, I also brought an estimate for a rental car. It's the only car that we have, and at the top of the
I'm not
estimate...
taking into consideration your rental car.
Okay.
What year car is this?
A 93 Pontiac Grand Am.
93 car can be painted for less than $2,218. You can find a paint job for less money than that for an 8-year-old car. I suggest you do that.
Okay.
Bird, I'm not really good at this. How much can you get a nice paint job for?
I really couldn't say, Judge. Depends on what kind of paint job and depends on who you get to do it.
Can you get a nice paint job for $800?
Your Honor, excuse me. I don't mean to interrupt. I have another estimate here. I didn't hand both of them. I've got 2 different ones.
A little more reasonable.
Well, now you're talking a little bit better, $1,450.
Depends on how far it was keyed, Judge.
Keyed the whole side. $1,450 sounds much more reasonable to me.
Yeah.
I have those 2 estimates. Should have handed me both. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,400. That's
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She slept with my ex-boyfriend.
I hope that Ann will just leave everything in how it is.
He doesn't say that that's his kid.
I'm just glad it's over, and I hope Ann will put this to rest and leave us alone.
She just doesn't even know who the father of her child is.
Get my car fixed, that's all I want.
I think that there's a lot of girls at Mount Spokane that hate her guts, and anybody could have done it.
If someone's gonna follow me into the school, more than likely, she did it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Yim versus Barbara. Step forward, please.
30-year-old clothing marketer O'Larry Yim is suing her ex-boyfriend, 41-year-old Patrick Barber, for the return of a computer. Patrick is countersuing for a separate computer.
Miss Yim, according to your complaint, you and the defendant were friends. Sometime in December of 1999, you purchased a computer. You already had a computer, but you bought a new one, a very expensive one. You say that since you didn't need both computers, you allowed the defendant to borrow it, and he had it in his possession for a considerable period of time. Sometime in the summer of 2000, you decided you wanted your computer back. Is that right so far?
Correct.
Defendant said, I thought it was a gift to me because I had done some work for her when she was on this trip to Cambodia, right? See how I read your papers?
Absolutely.
So what I said to you is, I've already put a lot of my software in the computer. Let me buy you another one. And he bought another one, a laptop, which he gave you.
Correct.
And on what date did he give you the other computer?
I would say approximately July of 2000.
July of 2000. And you kept that computer for a while.
Yes.
For how many months?
I still have that computer.
Which you accepted. Is that right?
Yes.
Then you changed your mind because you say that it wasn't as good as the computer that you had let him borrow.
Correct.
Is that the idea? Is that this case?
More or
I mean,
less.
so now you want the value or the return of your more expensive computer.
Yes.
Wrong. Let us assume, Miss Yim, that you allowed him merely to borrow the computer. That's not what he says. But let us assume that's true. You allowed him to borrow the computer. And when you asked for it back, he said, it's been a long time, 6 months or 8 months or whatever it was. I put my software in it. Let me get you a replacement.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, fine. And a year ago, he got you a replacement. And you accepted it. That means the contract is over. You took the replacement, you kept it, you've had it for almost a year, and the fact that you don't like it anymore doesn't mean that you can go back and get the original one from 1999. Do you understand?
I do.
Good, perfect. Case dismissed.
Oh.
Parties are excused. You may step out. It's colossal. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Ms. Wishner, your claim is that the defendant assaulted you in a bar. You claim that she assaulted you both inside of the bar and outside of the bar later in the parking lot. Did you know her before this evening?
No, ma'am.
You had never known her before December 13th?
Yes.
Never spoken to her before?
Never.
Okay. So why don't you tell me about at least your version of what happened that evening?
Several friends of mine, we all decided that we would meet at a local bar, then go bowling, and then go back to the bar afterwards. So we all met, and that's where I was introduced to Marlena by a friend of mine.
Who's Marlena? That's you. Ms. Colazzo.
Yes. And we then went bowling.
Who went bowling?
Mike, myself, two friends, Marlena.
So she went bowling with you?
Yes.
Okay.
I never really carried on a conversation with her because I didn't know her. Then after bowling, several hours later, we then went back to the bar to just hang out, have a couple drinks, and just socialize. And that's when Michael had asked me that Kristen was coming down.
Another girl was coming?
Yes. And he had said that she liked him. He asked me if I would go along and say that I was his girlfriend. I said, that's fine. Marlena was on the other side of the bar, sitting with Kristen. They were carrying on a conversation.
So Marlena, Ms. Colazzo, was sitting at the other side of the bar with this girl who had a crush on
Michael.
Michael.
Yes.
Okay. Gotta get me a scorecard here.
Michael
Go
and I
ahead.
were standing there talking, and before I knew it, Marlena had come up behind me, grabbed the back of my hair, and yanked my head back, and began to yell at me and call me a liar and said that I had lied to her. And
Lied to?
I had lied to her. She
Okay.
said that I lied to her or lied to Kristen. Michael had asked her to leave, so she had left the bar. From there, Kristen came up to me. She's like, I'm really sorry. She's like, you know, we were just standing there having a conversation. She's like, Marlena was supposed to come up and confront you and Michael about the situation, if you were lying or not. She's like, I never expected her to pull your hair.
So Ms. Colazzo left because Michael told her to leave?
Yes.
And she left the bar?
Mm-hmm. I wanted to know why she had pulled my hair. I went outside. I was standing there on the edge of the sidewalk. Her car door was open. She was getting into the car whenever I had asked her why she'd pulled my hair.
How far away from you was she when you asked her that question?
I don't know.
Point to
it was-
something in this room.
She was probably like where the flag is behind you, the navy blue flag on the right-hand side.
Okay, so pretty far away.
There was a pretty good distance between us.
Okay.
I didn't leave the sidewalk. I stood there and figured that I would carry on
So
the
you
conversation.
shouted to her, why did you
Yes.
pull my hair?
Exactly. I just wanted to know. I didn't care.
Why did you pull my hair? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Go ahead.
From there, she had shut the car door and began yelling at me. I guess she felt threatened that
Don't tell me what she felt. She shut the car door and started to yell at you. What did she say?
She just called me a liar and said that I lied to her about the whole situation when I didn't lie to her. I lied, you know, to Kristen. And she approached me.
So she left the car and came to you?
Yes.
Go ahead.
From there, we continued to exchange words, and before I knew it, she had jumped on me and slammed my head up against a car. It was a Jeep Grand Cherokee. I did $400 worth of damage to the car with my head that she bounced off of it. From there, she continued to jump on me and beat on me. She had scraped my face with her nails, pulled my contact out of my eye, and every time I tried to get up and get away, she continued to jump back on top of me. I had a bruise on my left inner leg from continuing to fall. Numerous times I had asked her to get off of me, that I wasn't going to fight her. I tried pushing her away, and when I pushed her away, she then bit me on my hand. And I have pictures if you want to see.
I sure do.
She had bit me on my left hand in between my thumb and my pointer finger. The pictures are really hard to see. I have scars on it from where she bit me. From there, finally somebody came outside and pulled her off me long enough for me to go inside and call 911 and have the paramedics come.
Okay, now you hit somebody's Grand Cherokee, and reading between the lines in your complaint, I gathered that somebody was forced to pay for the damage on the Grand Cherokee. Who was
Yes.
that?
I had to pay $255.19. She was supposed to pay $220.19.
And you want her to pay not only the $255.19 that you paid for the truck, but also for your injuries
Yes.
that you sustained as a result of what you claim was the assault. Okay, did you finish your story?
I have all the medical reports, if you would like those.
No, I don't need them yet, but I may, so keep them handy. All right, Ms. Colazzo, let's hear your version of the events.
Okay, everything's true up until the part to where we came over
to talk to her. Also, she had talked to me earlier. She said she had no conversation with me at the bar at the bowling alley because earlier that day I had asked her and Mike, were they a couple in conversation at the bar before we went to the bowling alley. And at the bowling alley, we did talk. I mean, you can't really bowl.
I don't care
Okay,
what you
I'm just letting you know that we did speak. At the bar, yes, I was talking to Kristen. We were talking about the fact that Mike had told her that her girlfriend was there. And I said, what are you talking about? He doesn't have a girlfriend. She said, well, that's her right there. And I said, no, that's not her it's not his girlfriend. I said, they're making a fool of you, you know? And she's just like, I don't understand all that crying stuff. I was like, well, if you want to, I said, we can go over there and ask her right now, and you can stop sitting here being the, you know, the red thumb here and go on with your business. So we go over to the side of her, and I tapped her. She was turned around. Mike was in between us, and I tapped her on her shoulder, and I asked her the question, and she said no. And she looked at me with this face, and she's just like, well, why do you care? Why do you care? And she started getting loud in the bar. Mike was standing in between us, and he did not ask me to leave. He said, Marlena, I know you're better than this. And I said, I know I am. And I turned around, and I proceeded to leave the bar. I turned around, and she was right there, coming at me, asking me, who do I think I am, and why do I care, and why is this important to me? And she grabbed at me. So what was I supposed to do? Of course I grabbed her and started, I beat her up, but I mean, she had me, you know? And we hit the car, we hit the ground, we rolled around for a little while, and she got someone's cell phone because she was on the phone outside making phone calls, calling me a this, a that, I'm going to jail just because I'm a stupid N-word and this, that, the next, and the other. And I'm like, whatever, I'll wait here for the police. The police came. He said, are you the person who called the police?
Can I see the police report, please?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stephanie Wishner says she was assaulted by Marlena Collazo during an argument at a bar. Stephanie claims Marlena rammed her head into the side of a truck.
So you left before the police arrived, is that right?
No, I left after the police got there. He pulled up right in front of the bar. I was still out front. He looked at me and he said, are you the one who called the police? I said, no. I said, I'm just trying to get my things and leave. He said, okay. And he went inside to talk to her.
Well, according to the police, you left before his arrival. Why didn't you hang around and speak to the police officer?
I was right there when he pulled up, and he asked me, he said, are you the one who called the police?
No, I'm not the one that called the police, but I know about this incident. You knew why the police were there, right?
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you stay around and give your version of the events?
I didn't feel it was necessary.
No? Take any prescription medication?
Do I take prescription medication?
Do you take any prescription medication?
No.
There's no excuse for this. There's no excuse for this kind of an assault. This wasn't a single assault. This was clear. She beat you up. Okay? And she has to be responsible for that. But you also, it seems to me, have some responsibility. There's no question that two of you had been drinking that evening because you started out at the bar, then you went to the bowling alley where I'm sure you were drinking beer or whatever else they serve there. Then you go back to the bar and you're drinking some more. So I'm sure that both of you were feeling a little bit loose. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes, we were drinking.
Okay. That doesn't give you this. You understand that?
Yeah.
And you got involved with something that had absolutely nothing to do with you. You're talking to Christina. Christina wants to know if this boy is actually dating this girl. What does that have to do with you? And what do you have to start trouble for? You tell this girl that they're making a fool out of her? I mean, is that what a mature person does?
Well, they were.
What does that have to do with you? So, you had to pay for the truck? That's part of the cost of being stupid and going out and following her outside. As far as your medical bills are concerned, now I want to see your medical bills and the reports.
This is the hospital report. This is the medical.
You didn't see the doctor, I assume, Ms. Collazo, because you went home before you even
That's
spoke to the police. Is that right?
That's it?
Yes.
I went home and I went to bed.
Went home and went to bed. Did you go to work the next day?
Yes, I did.
So I assume you weren't injured.
Not to the point where I felt I needed medical attention.
Well, tell me how you were injured at any point.
Okay, I had scratches all over my neck.
Did you have any photographs of that?
Did I know I was going to court? No.
Did you? If you had hung around, Miss Collazo, and spoken to the police, maybe you would have known. Nothing more unseemly than women who drink. Medical bills total $1,160.
Can I speak right now?
Mm-hmm.
We had a criminal case. She already tried to get me for harassment, but the judge in Pittsburgh dropped the charges.
Well, I'm not dropping the charges. As far as I'm concerned, madam, you owe $1,160, judgment for the plaintiff.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm tired of seeing her in court. This is my third time, and hopefully I don't have to see her ever again.
I really think she was out looking to just start something. And I was the lucky person.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Passariello versus Stillwell. Step forward, please.
Kalia and Vito Passariello are suing DJ company owners Jennifer and Eric Stillwell for ruining their wedding video. The Stillwells say the video was free.
Mr. and Mrs. Passariello, you were getting married, and you hired the defendants as DJs for the wedding. Is that right?
Correct.
And how many hours was the reception?
We had hired them to play for 3 hours.
What did your contract provide for?
$210.
Not a lot of money for 3 hours, right?
Average where we live.
Okay. How did you find them? Did you find them through an advertisement, or did somebody recommend them?
In the phone book, an advertisement in the phone book.
Okay. Had you asked for any recommendations?
We only had 2 months to plan our wedding, and in their advertisement, it says that they do a videotaping for free, and since we were in a hurry, we decided to go with them because we also wanted the videotape, so we chose
Let
them.
me see the ad, please.
We actually have two.
Just a second. So $210 was for the DJ. How many people? One DJ or two?
They told me that there would be one DJ, but there would be someone there helping him.
And was there?
There were 2 other people there with him.
Okay. So that's a pretty reasonable.
Right.
So you're not complaining. Your lawsuit doesn't complain about the DJ services. Your lawsuit says that they were to provide you your event videotaped free.
Correct.
That's what the ad says.
Right.
But not the DJ services. The DJ services you paid for.
Right.
The video was free. And what you're complaining about is the quality of the videotape.
Right.
Right?
And some of the service.
Well, you never like everything that a DJ does, Ms. Passariello.
They lost our first dance song, and they also asked me to make up a song list, and the song list was not played. And we had picked out special music for the cake cutting, and it was not played either.
Ms. Passariello, listen to me very carefully. I have made a lot of weddings. Never is perfect. Did you fire them?
Well, I couldn't send them home and have no entertainment.
Of course not. So you kept them for the 3 hours.
Right.
Fine. So you got your service provided for, because what you're suing them for is not $210. You're suing them for $2,110. You're suing them for 10 times as much as you paid, because you say they spoiled your day because of the video.
It wasn't just that the day was spoiled. My husband is from New York, and his family was not able to attend, and we were counting on this video to include them so they could see, and it's so embarrassing. We cannot.
Then you should have hired somebody who was a professional videoer.
Their ad shows professional this, professional that, and they actually have it in a higher printing that your video service
is free.
Yes, but they're standing
Mr. Passariello, it's ludicrous to believe that you actually thought that you were going to get both a professional DJ and a helper for 3 hours, plus a professional video, all for the bargain price of $210.
That's average where we live. It's not low. It's very average.
So what you're telling me is you can get a professional DJ and a professional video.
I don't know about a professional video.
You're not following what I'm saying, madam. It's ludicrous to believe that you could possibly expect a professional DJ plus a professional video.
They agreed to provide a video.
They provided you a video, madam. You may not like the video.
Can I show you the
No,
video?
I'm not interested.
It's awful.
Just a second. You should have hired a professional photographer if you wanted a professional video. How is somebody going to do a DJ, pay attention, professionally, as well as videotape an event to your liking, right? You want 2 professionals for $210.
They had 3 people at the event, 1 person to DJ and the other 2. One of the men was standing there with the camera. Now, we're not saying a professional job. We're saying at least an average job. This is
out of the
below
3 hours.
Where do you get standards?
Out of the 3
Just a minute.
hours
Where
that
do you
we
get
hired
standards for a free service, that it's supposed to be average,
I'm
below
sure
average,
it's
above
probably
average?
rounded into the price somewhere.
Did you
I mean,
call
it
for a
can't be
hey,
free.
Miss Paciarello, I hear a lot of people complaining about wedding events afterwards. Sometimes I rule in their favor. When they hire a photographer and the photographer's pictures are so outrageous, and you've hired a professional photographer, they are successful. But you did not hire a professional photographer. You hired a professional DJ who was giving
agreed
you
to
as a
provide
service, as a free service, a video. I'm going to ask you only one other question. Did you contact, in the course of the 2 months preparation for your wedding, a photographer?
No, his father took all the pictures for our wedding.
So the answer is you did not contact a photographer.
We didn't need to. No.
Good.
Oh,
So I
we
hope you
saw-
have,
we
I hope
saw-
you have good pictures. Listen, stop making a mountain out of a
No,
molehill.
can you view the tape, please?
I'm not interested in the tape, madam. There are pictures on the tape. Is that right?
It's a video.
You can't see it. It's so dark you can't see it. And when we're cutting the cake, the speaker for this system, they set their service up right in front of our cake table, and you cannot even see Vito except for the waist down.
You hired a DJ.
But they
You got a
agreed to
free-
provide another service.
They provided another service.
No,
they
they
gave
didn't.
you a video. And the fact that, Miss Paciarello, you're not going to get a dime. Understand that. You hired a DJ for $200 for 3 hours. Did you play 3 hours or more?
We played
Play four. Because they felt bad because they broke our first dance tape.
Fine. Well, that's a not just a second. That's a very nice thing. So they played
I
for
told him
4
to leave.
hours. They played for 4 hours. For
But I
2
told
hours.
him to leave.
No.
Yes, we did. He asked us several times if we wanted him to stay for a half an hour for 35 or a full hour for 70, and I told him no, because there was only like
Just a
30
second.
people left.
Just a second. So are you telling me they didn't stay for 4 hours?
They did, but I didn't tell him to.
I
told
didn't ask
him he could
Miss
leave.
Paciarello, get this straight. They played at your wedding for 4 hours for $200. And for that, you also believe you are entitled to a video that is totally satisfactory to you. You are not entitled to that. Did you ever hear the expression, you get what you pay for?
Did you ever hear the
No,
expression?
don't ask me any
"Nothing's
question.
free"?
That's right.
Downs versus Nagel Barnett.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, huh?
First, let me advise all of you that I have no intention of going back historically into the ongoing allegations of harassment, restraining orders, etc., that exists between you two people. And I'm going to start on a particular day. And that day is back in February of 2001, when I understand from reading your complaint that all of you appeared in court. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And on that day in February, you all seem to have come to some sort of at least a temporary resolution of this ongoing harassment that each of you claim that the other is causing you. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. Correct.
Yes. So you're in court. You received a restraining order against him?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have a restraining order at that time against them?
No, ma'am.
No. Okay. Everybody's shaking hands saying, we hope this whole thing will go away. And then you exit the courthouse. Is that right?
No, I didn't know, ma'am. I did not leave the courthouse yet.
Your car was parked in the parking lot.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to you, you saw the defendant's sons doing something to your car.
No, ma'am, I did not see him until after I was told that they were doing damage to my car.
Who saw it?
My son.
Step up here. Tell me your name.
Michael.
Michael. Your dad is in court. You went outside to wait for him?
No, I was in the lobby where we were getting ready to get the papers, and as I looked around the corner because I was seeing if the car was okay, the next thing you know, I saw them. They were sitting there kicking the bumper.
Who was?
Jared, Jevin, and Tyler.
These 3 boys?
Yes, ma'am.
All 3 boys?
Yes, ma'am.
Was your car parked there as well?
Yes, ma'am.
How far away from where your car was parked was the plaintiff's car parked?
Okay, the plaintiff's car was parked like in the 3rd parking space on the front of the median. My car was on the back side, about 3 cars down.
So, a good distance away from his car?
Correct.
Step up here, all 3 of you. Names?
Jared Barnett. Tyler Nagel.
Jevin Barnett.
Now, I've read the answer here, and the answer says that you guys were just playing around air karate kicking. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Why were you air karate kicking around his car?
Because we were mad because she got away with throwing a softball at my friend Tyler.
So you were mad?
Yes, ma'am.
And you left court and you went out and found his car. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And he says you damaged the car.
I didn't.
You didn't. What about you?
I wasn't even near it.
Where were you?
About 5 feet away from me.
You were 5 feet away. You were there.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you air karate kicking the car too?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you know that they were doing that?
No.
You have photographs of the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Where were your parents when you were kicking this car?
They were just leaving.
Were
We
they
came
inside
out.
the courthouse when you went outside?
Yes, ma'am.
You went outside first.
Yes, ma'am. We were going to the car.
Hmm?
We were going to our car.
Which car?
I was going to my car.
But you weren't going to your car.
Yes, I was.
Well, what did you stop at his car for?
We got mad, and so we just started to pretend.
When did you get mad? Between the courthouse door and the time you got to his car, tell me approximately when you got mad.
I was mad
Inside the courthouse?
Yes, ma'am.
So you didn't just get mad, you were mad before you left the courthouse.
Yes, ma'am.
And what about you? Were you mad or you just following?
I was mad too, ma'am.
What were you mad at?
For him getting away.
Getting away with doing what?
Throwing a softball at me, ma'am.
And is that what this case was about that you were in court about?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you hurt when the softball hit you?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did the softball hit you?
On my bottom lower lip on the left.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got a scar.
And what happened? Did the judge dismiss that case?
Yes.
So your sons were angry?
Yes.
You subsequently got a restraining order against them in March.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So that then there are now mutual restraining orders.
Yes, ma'am. Correct.
Okay.
Ma'am. My attorney's paralegal. I have an affidavit from her saying that she was there and
No.
seen it.
No. I only take witnesses, not affidavits.
Well, she could not be here today because she was at a case with my attorney.
That's not my problem. That's your problem. I don't take affidavits. But I believe your son, and I don't believe the fact that they were angry and they just went outside and air karate kicked it, and as a result of something else, your car got damaged. The car looks like a relatively new car. Is it a new car?
Yes, ma'am. It's a 2000 Buick Regal.
Yeah. And you get absolutely no satisfaction air karate kicking a car. You get satisfaction when you actually kick it. Right, Bird?
That's right.
That's right.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Anthony Downs says 11-year-old Tyler Nagel, 11-year-old Jared Barnett, and 13-year-old Jevin Barnett vandalized his car. The children deny the charge.
So how much did it cost you to fix the car, sir? I have a lot of different bills here. Is it $500? Or
That was what we had to pay at the end. Yes, ma'am.
was your deductible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, so now we come to March 8th. You have a counterclaim. Your counterclaim says that he violated the restraining order, and that's the only thing that I'm going to hear. Somebody want to tell me about it?
We do not deny that the boys were in a place where they should not have been, but we are denying all the allegations.
Good, and I find that they kicked his car. I find that based upon several things. Quiet and listen. Okay. I don't believe them that they never came into contact with the car with their shoes or their feet. I believe that they were angry because little brother over here got hit with a ball. They felt it was his fault. Judge dismissed the case. They went outside, and little boys don't get any satisfaction air karateing a car. They get satisfaction if they actually come into contact with the car. And unless the air karate kick theory did this damage to the car, somebody did it. So I find that they did it. Now let's move to your counterclaim, madam, which is the only thing I'm going to hear right now. Got a restraining order. You say that there was continual harassment after that.
After we filed the restraining order.
How are you related to this case?
He's suing me too because those are my children.
Which children?
This one and this one.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I was coming home from picking up my son Jared from the roller rink, and I pushed the button to open up my garage door, and he was coming from the side of my yard, down my driveway, and in front of me.
Yes.
So I called her husband because my husband was gone, and he came over, and then we called the police.
And what happened?
They went over there and talked to him, and he said that he was in bed sleeping at the time, and that there was nothing we could do because there wasn't a third party involved.
So you saw him walk from the side of your house?
Yeah.
What's
Well,
next?
he was running, ma'am.
Running. What's next?
I have pictures where he was on 3 different occasions taking his children to school. I have pictures of him driving by the house where he could have taken 3 to 4 other routes, which were shorter than the one he took, but I feel he took these just to make himself known that he was there.
So he drove his children to school and he could have taken a different route and avoided going on your street. Is that what you're saying?
3
It's
or
not
4
harassment.
different
What's
routes.
next? Anything else?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't want to hear you.
I still have 2 court documents stating that there was no damage to the car.
Listen carefully to me. I find that there was damage to the car as a result of your boys kicking the car. They practically confessed. The only thing they didn't confess to was that their feet, when they were doing the karate kicks, actually came in contact with the car. I don't have to repeat it to you 20 times. They were seen doing karate kicks to the car, and there's damage to a brand new car. Should have watched them more carefully. Your counterclaim's dismissed for harassment. Listen to me. The matter was resolved as of February 16th. The only thing that I'm entertaining is the damage to your car. Listen to me very carefully. That cost you $500, right?
And a car rental.
I don't care about the car rental.
We had to rent a car because it was getting fixed.
Do you think that I believe that when there is an ongoing problem with harassment between two families, listen to me very carefully, you're not receiving. When there is ongoing problems with two families, like there is with these two families involving children, that all the adults aren't a little at fault? I believe that they're all a little at fault. The adults. All the adults.
Can I say something? The day that the restraining order took place is the day that, before this court date, they said I did this to her house.
I'm dismissing her counterclaim for harassment, sir. You have to understand that. If you listened instead of had your own thing going on in your head, you would understand that. I don't find driving down a street or coming from the side of her house harassment. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Now you're in a receiving mode. So being in a receiving mode, I'm telling you, sir, that I believe that when there is an ongoing pattern that requires police, prosecutors, detectives, court personnel to waste their time to deal with childish behavior and adults are involved, you don't get your car rental.
Mm-hmm.
You got it?
But I didn't do the
But
damage.
you do get your out-of-pocket expenses for them kicking your car, which they did. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
They had beaten Michael up several times.
He was found guilty of assault battery against my son, Jared.
They had me down, so I was kicking and punching, trying to get my way out of the fight.
The father should have just broke it up, had boys shaking their
Right.
hands, and go on with life.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Kettleson versus Kettleson. Step forward, please.
28-year-old cashier Jennifer Kettleson is suing her brother, 25-year-old welder Nathaniel Kettleson, for unpaid loans, the return of her belongings, and damages from an assault. Nathaniel is countersuing for storage fees.
Ms. Kettleson, the defendant is your brother. I've read your papers, your complaint, and your answer. Nowhere in the complaint or the answer do I see the need for any child witnesses, so I'm going to have her take this child outside.
Come on, buddy.
All right. According to what I've read, you were living in Alaska with your children. Things weren't going well there. You spoke with your brother. Your brother offered to open his house to you if you wanted to relocate from Alaska to Montana, where he lived with his family. You sold some stuff, packed up the rest, and moved in with your brother. Things did not work out. You got into a major brouhaha with him, either a week or two later. According to you, he kicked you out of the house.
Right.
You want him to pay for the following: $500, which is what you say it cost you for a motel to stay with your family. $1,400, which is the amount that you say you had to borrow for airline tickets because someone else said that you could come to stay with them in New York. A couple of $1,000 for your aggravation. In addition, you claim that he had borrowed some money from you.
That's correct.
Several $100s, and he didn't pay you back all of the money. Right?
Correct.
Mr. Kettleson, your brother, has a counterclaim. His counterclaim is you left, and you left a whole bunch of your stuff there, and then he and his family were relocating. Because he was a nice guy, he took your stuff with him when he relocated, and the van wasn't big enough to hold his stuff, so he had to put his stuff in storage, and he wants you to pay for the storage for his stuff because he took better care of your stuff, right?
That's correct.
Are you all nuts or what? Ms. Kettleson, if you go and live with somebody, a member of your family, and things don't work out, you believe that there's a contract, and the contract existed between you and your brother to provide a home for you and your children, even if the situation became intolerable? And that's why you believe he's responsible for this $1,900 in expenses you had to move out of his house?
Your Honor, he called me up and he said that we can come down and stay with him. And he seemed very, very polite about it and everything. And he had to convince me to come down.
You're a big adult. Do you think if a living arrangement doesn't work out with a relative, you're entitled to further relocation expenses?
Yes, I do.
Wrong. I don't have to hear anymore. Forget it. That doesn't happen. And your aggravation as a result of that also doesn't happen. You take your chances. You move from Alaska, where you weren't doing well, to Montana in the hopes that you would do better. Didn't work out, so you moved on. That's not a lawsuit. That's called unfortunate.
Your Honor, he said that he would be sending my stuff to me. I have a letter from him about that, and...
Okay, so he has some of your belongings.
Right.
Fine, let's talk about the loans first. We'll talk about the belongings second. Loans, when did you lend him money?
I lent him money on October 10th, or 18th.
How much?
$300.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Did you pay her back?
I paid $200 of that back.
You have any proof of that?
No.
She says you
not
paid
during
back
her testimony.
$150.
Yes.
Wasn't expecting it to go this far.
Okay. What was the next loan? When was that?
October 18th.
What were the circumstances surrounding that loan?
He brought his daughter over so I can watch her and while he went somewhere, and he asked me for $100.
Is that right?
I believe so, yes.
Did you give her back that money?
No, I did not.
Fine. So you owe her $250. That's easy. What else?
It says right here, I will get my taxes back in about 2 weeks. It should be enough to mail your stuff. What do you want me to do with the stuff that you left with Maurice? Don't worry, I'm going to send all that you left there.
What kind of stuff do you have?
My computer, my belongings, my
Don't take my belongings.
Anything
Your computer.
and
Okay, my computer, our baby books.
There's no baby books.
Yes, there is. My kids' clothes. I have a leather jacket in there. Picture frames, beanie babies, sleeping bags, all sorts of things.
Okay. Did you send him any money to send you back that stuff?
No, he was supposed to send it with the money that he owes me.
Well, that's fine. You have all that stuff? It's
Oh,
all
yeah.
packed
Oh,
up?
yes.
And you owe her $250. Do you
Yes.
think it'll cost more than $250 to send it?
Far more.
How much?
It was $174 a box. She wants it insured and priority mail and everything else with it. It was basically going to round off to about $200 a box to mail
Your
her
Honor,
stuff.
when I...
Just a minute. How many boxes of stuff do you think you have?
2 boxes, about 3 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet, stuffed full.
And how much do you think that that's going to cost?
About $200 a box to mail it.
So about $400.
About $400 total to mail it.
Do you want to spend that?
No, I went to the post office in Montana and I asked them how much it is, and they said $50 for 70 pounds.
Well, I'm not going to guess how much it is to mail all your stuff back. He's not responsible to you to mail all your stuff back.
He said right here that he will. So he's
not
responsible.
No, he's not responsible for paying for it. It's your stuff. You left it
He owes
there.
me the money. He was
Fine, you're not, Miss Kittleson. He owes you $250. What if it costs $500 to mail back your stuff?
It doesn't. I went to the post office and it cost $50 for 70 pounds. I made sure that those 2 boxes were less than 70 pounds.
How did you make sure of that?
Because I know how much I brought down in those boxes.
Miss Kittleson, you're going to have to make arrangements for payments. The stuff is all boxed. He's prepared to turn it over to you. You have to make arrangements to get it. That's your job. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Good. In the meantime, he's going to give you the $250 that he owes you, and that may help to defray some of your costs.
He should also pay for the tickets, at least from Montana to New York.
Oh, he's not paying for that at all. I just explained that to you.
Okay, then the hotel and stuff.
He's not paying for that either.
He should have to, because it was his fault that I had to leave. He said, come on down here and stay with me. You can stay with me until you get settled. And then
there was a fight.
Yes. And
it didn't work out. So you left. And evidently you left not under terrible circumstances.
Oh, yes, it was.
Well, he said the next day you were babysitting for his daughter.
2 days later.
2 days later, you were babysitting for his daughter, which is when you gave him Miss Kettleson, get over it. He doesn't pay for your airfare. He doesn't pay for your hotel. He pays you the money that he owes you, which is $250, and you make arrangements to get your stuff, which is boxed, period.
I have to pay $1,349 because for my airfare ticket from Montana to New York because of the way he was to me.
No.
Yes.
No, Miss Kettleson.
$1,349. She
No,
could have rented a place to live in Montana.
Miss Kettleson, what if you decided to relocate to Paris? And the airfare to Paris is $5,000. You think you should pay $5,000?
If that's the case.
Bye. You count the suits likewise dismissed. It's nonsense.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Miss Craig, it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you at a high school reunion. By the way, when was the reunion?
November 22nd.
2000?
Yes, Your Honor.
How do you know her?
She is my ex-husband's fiancée.
Anthony's my husband.
And you used to be married to her?
That's my ex-wife.
Okay, so this is not the fiancé. They are married?
Yes.
Did you know that?
No, Your Honor.
Well, they are married. Okay. Have you ever had any problems with her before?
Well, prior to the incident, they had called CPS on me and fabricated lies about me.
When had they called Child Protective Services?
It was about 3 weeks to a month prior to that.
What was the complaint?
They were fabricating lies saying that I was a drug user and that domestic violence in my home. And the CPS had came to my house and my children's school and my work and everything, and they closed the case prior to my reunion.
Does your ex-husband see the children?
He sees the children on and off. He hasn't been seeing them lately for the past couple weeks.
Okay, so that's the backdrop. Then you all go to the reunion. I assume you all went to high school together.
Yes.
And tell me what happened when you got to the reunion.
I showed up at the reunion at approximately 9:30. I paid $75 just for myself to go. And I was walking around talking to my friends, and I was looking for this man in a blue and the black shirt. I remembered him from 10th grade. I wasn't sure of his name, but I was asking numerous people, where's this guy in the blue and the black shirt? Because I just wanted to dance and have a good time. Well, I walked outside on the patio to have a cigarette. I looked to my left, and I saw him sitting at a table. And I walked over to the table, and I said, oh, James, because we had name tags on. And he lit my cigarette. When I bent down to light my cigarette, I saw Maida out of the corner of my eye talking to two of her girlfriends. She appeared to be upset. Her girlfriends were huddling like over her, like she appeared to be upset. I just said to James, I said, you know, would you like to dance when we go back in after having our cigarette? I'm really glad I came. You know, I'm seeing a lot of people I haven't seen for a while, and that's about as far as I got. At this time, Maida approached me from the side. She got like this close to my face, and she says, did you even graduate? And she appeared to be, you know, drinking, maybe intoxicated, I don't know, you know, because the reunion started at 6. And I said, of course I did, Maida. And at that time, she pushed me down. I fell down. I was wearing a dress. I have a cut on my leg and injuries. I have photos.
Just a second. She pushed you down how?
She just pushed me down, physically pushed me down. I fell down and I cut my leg. When I proceeded to get up, I wore my hair down that night, and she had got my head into a firm, like, headlock, and there was big heating lamps there at the Mission Inn in Riverside, and she was trying to bang my head into one of those heating lamps. And at this time, because of the fabricated lies, you know, I'm not going to lose...
Shh, just a second. Don't tell me fabricated lies.
Well...
Just tell me what happened.
Well, due to the prior incidents of them calling CPS, I cannot even touch her, not even in self-defense. At this time, after she pushed me and I started to get back up, I placed my hands right here, like, I'm not even going to touch you. I refused to touch her.
Why? Is there an order of protection against you?
No, I just refused to touch her.
What do you mean? I don't understand. You said, due to the prior incident with CPS, I'm not allowed to touch her or go near her.
Because of them calling CPS, I was afraid that they would lie and I would go to jail and I would lose my kids if I even defended myself one bit. So I did not even touch her, Your Honor, not once. My hands were behind my back the whole time. At this time, James saw that I wasn't even defending myself.
Don't tell me what anybody else saw. Just tell me what happened.
He stood up behind me and barricaded me because he saw I wasn't defending myself. At this time,
Don't tell me what he saw, madam. Just tell me what happened.
Okay,
James stood up and barricaded himself around you.
Okay, barricaded himself around me. At this time, she still had my head, and she couldn't bang it into the heating lamp because he was standing behind me, so she was proceeding with her nail around like this, trying to poke my eye out, and that's when I got scratches in my eye and a black eye. And at this time, the security guards came running out, and she released my head prior to them running out and screamed, Jennifer, quit hitting me, quit hitting me. She's a psychotic drug addict, and she's going to lose her kids to CPS in front of my whole reunion. And at that time, I ran because I was in such shock to go find my purse, you know, to call the police on my cell phone. Police came. There was a police report made. I left in the ambulance and went to Riverside Community Hospital.
Okay. Do you have a copy of your medical report and any photographs you want to show me?
There's the medical report. Did you want to see photos?
Yes.
Medical bills.
What are you showing me in this picture with your hands together like this?
That one, I was just showing that I had a bruise on my wrist from where I was holding my wrist, and also to show that I had all my nails on, because if I was fighting back in self-defense, I definitely would not have any nails on.
Okay. All right, let's see your version of what happened.
It was the night of, I believe it was November 25th, at my 10-year reunion, when I was out on the patio with my friends. We were at two tables. James was with us, and she approached us at the patio, and she asked Nancy if it was the smoking section. Nancy replied no, and she ignored Nancy, and she kept talking to James, who was clearly with us. When I got up to leave the premises is when I made a comment about, because I was shocked that she came because she didn't graduate from Norco. She didn't walk in commencement with us. And when I walked out, I made a comment about her not graduating from Norco High. As I was leaving, she pushed me.
How did she push you?
She just pushed me.
You didn't fall over or anything?
No.
She just pushed you with her hands?
Yes.
Go ahead.
And so I've seen her assault other people, and I was scared, and so I reacted, and I grabbed her by her hair, and I held her against this pole so that I could secure myself, and when she was kicking is when I had to use my left leg to protect myself from her right leg. When Michelle went and got the security guards, that was when they split us both up. She was kicking and screaming, yelling, I assaulted her, which is when she called the police and took the ambulance.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jennifer Craig says her ex-husband's new wife, Maida Kane, assaulted her at their high school reunion. Maida says Jennifer started the fight.
Ms. Craig, did you in fact graduate from this school?
No, I graduated from Buena Vista because I went to cosmetology school also.
Just listen to me. You did not graduate from this school.
No.
So what were you doing there at a 10th year reunion?
I went through Norco High through all my high school years except for my senior year, and I thought about it and I wanted to go.
Did you know that they would be there?
No, Your Honor, I did not know.
Well, did you know that they graduated from that high school?
I knew that she graduated from the high school, but I didn't know that she was attending the reunion. If I would have known...
But you knew that she went to that high school.
Right, and so did I.
You're not listening. You knew that she went to that high school so that there was a chance that she would be there, right?
Right.
So it was really rather foolish of you to put yourself into that situation where there was clearly recent hostility with regard to the children and your former husband and his fiancée. I don't understand why you even put yourself in that situation. It's really kind of foolish to do that. You don't agree with that?
Well, Your Honor, I wasn't sure whether they were going to be there or not.
Even if you suspected.
And I didn't want to miss my 10-year reunion. And I don't.
It wasn't your reunion.
Yes, it was, because I knew a lot of people there that I went to high school with. And I didn't want to miss my 10-year reunion, and I don't...
You keep saying 10-year reunion. It wasn't your 10-year reunion. You didn't graduate from this high school. I could understand you wanting to see people that you went to school with. But as opposed to going there with these people who you had a recent problem with, and you suspected that they might be there because you knew she graduated from there, smart would have been to say, I'll see them at some other time. Did you, in fact, when she came up to you and said, did you graduate from here? I didn't know you graduated, which is something you didn't need to say. It was a gratuitous dig, right?
Yes.
Unnecessary. All you have to do is walk out, right?
Correct.
Were you there?
Yes, I was.
Step up. Were you two people there?
Yes.
Then I don't need the husband. Sit down. I'd rather hear from you. Tell me your name.
Nancy.
Nancy what?
Farrell.
Miss Farrell, you were there from the beginning?
Yes, and when we were outside on the patio and she approached us.
Tell me what you observed.
Me and Michelle were standing at the chair, or at the table. Maida was sitting down. James was at a separate table by himself next to us.
James, the blue shirt.
The blue shirt guy. And I was kind of bent over talking to Maida when I saw Jennifer approaching us. And she walked up, sashaying, is this the smoking section? None of us are smoking. We don't smoke. I said no. Telling her, like, we don't want you here. Get away. So she still came by and stopped and talked to James. And then that's when Maida got up and made the comment.
No, don't. Let me hear. Come on. Let me hear the whole thing.
Well, Maida got up, walked by her, and made the comment about, you didn't even graduate, or did you graduate from here? And that's when Jennifer pushed her, and then that's...
How did she push her?
Just, you know, not like to knock her over, but she touched her. And so that was enough to make, I guess, both of them upset, and they just...
Oh, it was enough
patted
to make...
each other.
It was clearly enough to make the defendants upset.
Yes.
And then she reacted.
Correct.
You think, Ms. Kane, that you overreacted?
I don't know if you can overreact when you're scared.
Well, being scared is one thing, but you precipitated this.
I was holding her to defend myself.
No,
from
why
someone
were
that
you
I
defending
believe is
yourself? She
violent.
pushed you. Show me how she pushed her again. Right. Didn't fall over, nothing happened. But according to you, You know she's a violent person, so you defended yourself. And you defended yourself by throwing her into a headlock and punching her a couple of times.
No, I was holding
Punching her
her
a couple of times. Evidently, she fell down. I mean, she has bad bruises over here on her leg. What?
Can I say something?
Sure. Why
About
don't
this
you both
whole
sit
about
down?
the whole thing and how it started.
Sure.
If I may. Okay. With regards to what Jennifer was saying about me calling CPS on her and having absolutely no reason and fabricating lies, I'd like to touch that real quick. Maida and I went over to drop my children off after we had them a whole weekend on Sunday. We pull up and she's out in the front yard with her boyfriend, the father of her child, her other child, kicking him, slapping him, slamming his car door on his face. And I told him and her that I wasn't going to leave until she let him go, because obviously he wanted to leave. She wasn't going to let him. At this time, my 2 children are standing in the park with 15 other kids that live in that complex, watching this whole thing go on. That's where the understanding comes in. The minute she raised her hands, I wouldn't expect anything less of my wife than to defend herself against somebody that's violent like that. Not only that, but there's been lots of violence throughout the whole time that we've been separated and the whole time that I was married to her. A lot of violence.
That may be. Your wife should have kept her mouth shut.
Well, that's true.
Okay. What made you think that there was drug use in the house?
My kids have both mentioned smoking and unfamiliar smell. My son's very nervous. He's 9 years old and he's still soiling his underwear. I have a tape, we have here audio, of Jennifer actually calling the house and having my daughter get on the phone and ask where the child support is, the child support money's at, telling me she's going to come over to my house. And then actually that night we did tape that. She did come over and she kicked my door in.
Sounds to me as if these kids are not seeing very good examples
Well,
set.
we
Where
have
was
the
the
tape
child
if
support?
you'd like to hear it.
Where was the child support?
The child support was pouring in at $800 a month. I'm only $10,000 behind on my child support, and I've been paying child support for 3 years.
$10,000 is a lot of money.
It is, and I agree with that, and I'm paying it back, as well as still paying currently.
Why did you fall $10,000 behind the child
Well,
support?
what happened was I changed careers, and I dropped down to making a very low amount of money that would barely keep me going. I gave her what I could, and I went to court.
How long ago did you fall behind?
This was 2.5, 3 years ago.
In the past 2 years, have you been current in your child support?
Yes, I have.
They take it out of your salary?
Yes, they do.
Your Honor, can I just say something regarding about that incident when he was saying that I dropped off the kids?
Go ahead.
Okay, prior to when I was moving in that night, I had some friends moving me in, and they came to drop the kids off. Well, Joe, my boyfriend, was outside talking to them. I walked outside to see where he was. At this time, Maida flips me off, and I was like, what's up with that? And they're sitting there saying that I'm harassing them, starting a fight with them. And I didn't do anything.
So you're telling me you didn't have a fight with your
I
boyfriend?
didn't even do anything. No, Your Honor.
No, listen to me. You're telling me that you didn't have a fight with your boyfriend?
No.
I'm not sure if I believe that.
I didn't.
I'm not sure if I believe that.
And when I walked out, she had flipped me off in front of my children.
Maybe she did that, but I'm not sure that you didn't have a fight with the boyfriend.
No, Your Honor.
Mm-hmm. Ever smoke marijuana in your house?
No, Your Honor, I do not. I smoke cigarettes, and that's it. See, prior to this...
Shh, don't say see.
He had...
Shh, listen to me. Is what you're telling me that you've never smoked drugs in your house?
Yes, Your Honor, that is correct. He had a hair follicle drug test taken on me in court that I had passed. I don't use drugs, and he just fabricates lies because he has child support.
Her and her mother got in an argument, and Jennifer's mother wasn't allowed to see the children. And Maida and I had talked about that, and I said it's not right because she's done it to everybody in my family. She's done it to everyone on my side of the family, and she started doing it to her side of the family because her and her mother got in a fight. Her mother was the only stable thing in those kids' life at that point, and I knew that. I was only seeing them every other weekend and once a week, on Wednesdays, and I knew what was going on. So I called her mom, and I said, hey, anytime you want to come over here and see the kids, you're more than welcome, blah, blah, blah. Her mother comes over and tells me that she knew she did a bad thing. And I said, well, what's that? Well, she knew that Jennifer was on drugs and went on the internet and got the chemicals that you need to put on your hair to wipe everything off your hair follicles. That was the first person that told me that. The second person that told me that was her boyfriend, Joe, because they were fighting, and he told me, he came over to the house going, I don't know how you dealt with it as long as you did, blah, blah, blah. And I said, hey, to be totally honest with you, I did what I did, and it's over. I found somebody I'm really happy, and there it is.
Mr. Kane, just keep a close eye on things. Do you understand me?
Yeah, I understand.
Good. That's all. That's all I'm going to say. All right, now I have to get to this claim. Miss Craig, let me tell you what I believe. I believe that the defendant said something that was totally unnecessary to you when she said either, I didn't know you graduated, or did you graduate from here? It was a gratuitous dig. that was pretty stupid. I also believe that you pushed her after she said it to you. Oh, yes, I believe that you pushed her. I don't believe that you hurt her. I believe that you, as indicated, pushed her. Did you have a right to do that? No. Did you hurt her? No. And was her response to being pushed consistent with the threat? The answer is no. Okay. You overreacted, and you can't do that. I honestly believe that you could have avoided the problem with her totally by just walking out. Keep walking, right? Said not a word. You didn't do that. She's not responsible. You're responsible. I think that there's more to the underlying case here with regard to the background, what's going on in her house, but I can't get into that now. That's just a sense, which is why I said to you, just be vigilant. Do you understand? But you are responsible for her medical bills, and I believe that you are also responsible for some of her pain and suffering. I also think that you have certain responsibility because you were the first person to put your hands on her. I honestly believe that you pushed her first. I believe that because that would be a natural reaction by somebody who has somebody coming up right in their face and saying something that was nasty. You might not hit her, and I don't think you hit her. You shoved her out of the way. Did not require the defense that you attribute to, well, I knew her history as of being a violent person, so I defended myself. Do you understand? You had medical bills of $1,441.39, and I believe you were probably out of work for a couple of days. And I believe that you had some pain and suffering, and I'm entering a judgment for $3,000.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
You're Miss Bowman.
I'm Miss Bowman, her mother.
Okay, but you weren't there.
No, I was not there at the time.
Why don't
Thank
you
you.
Ms. Bowman, the defendant is your former boyfriend.
Right.
Who's going to take his hands out of his pockets as we speak. Very good. And according to your complaint, after you broke up with him, two things happened. You claimed that he trashed your car, causing substantial damage, and also in a scuffle over a knife, he caused you to cut yourself, and you want him to pay your medical bills. When did you break up with him, and where did this happen?
At his home on June 27th.
How long had you been going out with him?
Since February.
Did you tell him in person that you were breaking up with him?
Yes, ma'am.
At what time of the day or evening did you tell him?
7.
You broke up with him on the 27th?
Right.
At about 7 o'clock in the evening?
Right.
And then I assume you left?
Right.
Was there any discussion at that time?
No, his sister and I both left after I broke up with him.
What did you say to him, and what did he say to you?
We had gotten in an argument, and I was just like, it's over. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Let's just break up.
Did he say anything?
No, a normal breakup.
I mean, don't remember.
Not like...
And then you left?
Right.
Did you subsequently come back to the house?
Yeah, later on that evening.
What time?
Yes. It was probably around 3 o'clock in the morning.
And who did you come back with?
His sister.
And what happened when you came back at 3 o'clock in the morning?
We went to sleep, and nothing happened. We woke...
Who went to sleep?
Sarah and I.
Where?
In Sarah's room.
Okay. So you went to sleep at 3 o'clock. What happened when you got up?
We woke up.
What time?
Maybe around 11. We were going to the hospital to visit his mom in the hospital, Sarah's mom also. Then we went to the hospital, came back around 4:30, and when I got back, I looked at my car and I noticed that it had been really bad kicked. And
Where had you parked your car?
In their driveway.
Now, when you left at 11 o'clock in the morning to go to visit his mother in the hospital with your friend Sarah,
right.
Did you see your car?
No, I had not paid any attention to it whatsoever.
When was the last time you had actually looked at your car?
And no damage had been done to it?
Yeah.
The day before, on the 27th.
What time?
8.
8 at night?
Right. When Sarah and I had left, there was nothing wrong with my car.
Do you have a photograph of your car after the damage? That was from a movie, right? I always loved that movie, right? What movie was that?
Got to think about that one.
Oh, I know what it was. I know. No. I know what it was. I know what it was. Runaway Bride. It was Runaway Bride. When
I didn't see that one.
Oh, that's a ladies' movie. Did you see the movie?
No, man.
But you know what I mean when I say look in my eyes.
Yeah.
Try yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So someone did a real number on your car.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you went into the house?
And called my mom, told her what had happened.
And that's why your mom is here, because the car is really your mom's.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
And called the police. She told me to call the police. He was telling me, don't call them, it's not that big of a deal. And I called the police.
Well, did you ask him what happened to the car?
I said, what happened? I don't know.
And he said, I don't
wasn't
know.
here. Right.
And then you said you were going to call the police?
Right.
And what did he say when you said you were going to call the police?
Don't call the police, it's not that big of a deal.
And what did you say to him?
I said, my mom says I have to. So I went ahead and called the police, made a report, and when I had called the police, the officer came to his house, and the officer came, I made a police report. He said, did he do it? The police officer asked me if he did it and thought I was protecting him, but I didn't have any idea. You know, I thought in my mind that he did do it, but there was no, I saw you do it. So that.
Right. So what happened next?
Well, after the police officer had came, he wanted to talk to me. I was really upset. I was crying. I was really upset. And I was like, no, 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 no. You know, Sarah and I were getting ready. We're going to get dressed, and then we were going to go out that night. And we were arguing. And I don't know how it all started, but he pushed me. Sarah got up. Sarah and him started fighting. And then I got in the fight because I didn't want Sarah or either one of them to get hurt. And we were all just started a big fight. And then he started grabbing knives and was like, I'm going to...
You're lying.
Go ahead. He started grabbing knives saying he was going to kill himself first. He held it to his stomach. Then he said to his wrist and everything else. All the meanwhile, Sarah and his 9-year-old cousin are both there. And after that, he had grabbed a steak knife. And he was like, I'm going to kill myself. We were standing over by the refrigerator. Sarah and his cousin were in the living room by the phone getting ready to call the police. And when he went like this, I put my hand like this, and that's how I got stabbed.
So you were trying to
prevent
right. him from hurting himself?
Exactly.
Okay. Did your cut require stitches?
Yes.
How many?
2. But it is 2.5 centimeters deep. My palm is numb. Half my thumb is numb. I'm still going to hand specialists to see.
Miss Bowman, I just have a couple of questions for you. You break up with this guy. He has a sister who's clearly a friend of yours. Don't you think it's a good idea that after you break up with him, you don't go back to his house and contemplate going out with his sister and hanging out with his sister so that he's aware of all these things?
Right, yes.
Yeah.
His sister was my best friend. We had been...
So what? So let your sister come to your house.
Right.
Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes.
It's just not smart.
Right.
You know, it sort of says to him, trash to you.
Right.
You know, I'm going out with my friends. I'm going to go have a good time, and I don't care if you're heartbroken, and I don't care if you're miserable, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Just not smart.
Right.
Not thinking. You know, you didn't think.
Right.
Anything?
I tried to keep the relationship between us after the incident kind of steady, so...
You can't keep it steady. It was just 24 hours old.
I'm talking about after.
I'm talking about at the time of this incident. The breakup was 24 hours old, and you're gallivanting around town, hanging out and doing whatever you want to do with his sister and coming home 3 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I'm not being judgmental about that.
Right.
I'm just saying to you, don't do it in front of him.
Right.
Because it made him mad.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jenna Bowman says ex-boyfriend John Benningfield Jr. kicked her car in a fit of jealous rage. Jenna also claims she was cut with a knife when John tried to kill himself.
Let us start with incident number 2. Let's hear your version of the knife incident.
Okay, well, see, yeah, we was arguing, you know, and...
What were you arguing about?
Yeah, I really can't remember. But we was arguing and stuff, and I was like, well, I'm just going to leave. You know, I'm just going to get out of here. And she was like, well, why don't you go kill yourself? Or why don't you go kill yourself? Or something like that in that area. In that area. And I was like, well, do you want me to? Because I was just so mad, you know, and so frustrated.
What were you mad about?
Just because we broke up, you know. And I did like her, you know, kind of a lot. We went out for, 6 months? And, you know, I mean, that's the pretty longest relationship I've ever been in. And
so you were really mad?
Yeah. And I was just like, okay. And I mean, I didn't have it up like this. I had it right here across my, you know, right here. And then my sister tried to stop me, and I was trying to protect the knife so she wouldn't get cut, you know. And then I don't know what happened. Next thing I know, she runs over here and she gets cut. And then as soon as I see she's cut, I threw the knife in the sink and then helped her, you know, tended to her. Like, I got to town, you know, and I told Sarah and them to call 911 because I didn't know, you know, how bad it was. And then, yeah, the police came and...
well, that was the second time the police had come.
Yeah, yeah.
Police came twice. The first time they came about the car.
Yes, ma'am. And, they took me, they was going to take me to jail, but they...
Take you to jail for what?
For assault with a deadly weapon. Because I guess she was going to press charges against me, but they ended up didn't, and then took me to rehab.
Well, she really assaulted herself with the deadly weapon that you were holding.
Yeah. Right? Right. That's why they took me to rehab, to the hospital, instead of taking me to jail.
Well, there's a difference between rehab and a hospital.
It's in the hospital. It's rehab in a hospital.
What kind of rehab?
It's
a...
I was trying to think. I don't know. It's just they got a bunch of for drugs and for people that are.
Well, for drugs.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Who were you hanging out with that evening?
Josh Cato, my friend. See, the 27th, when her car was we supposedly did it. We was in Gap Hollow in where is that? Elizabeth, Indiana. And we didn't leave there until like 4 o'clock in the morning. And when we left there, we went back to his house. And when we got up at his house about noon, I come back to the house, and she was like, "What did you do to my car? Why did you do this to my car?" And I'm
well,
like,
at the time she left the evening before with your sister, you weren't in Gap Hollow. You weren't there. You were home because she said, "I'm leaving, and I don't want to talk about it anymore." You were home.
Right. When they left, we pulled out of the driveway because he parked his truck in our second driveway, and she was parked with my sister and my cousin, and they was going to the hospital.
Who do you think kicked her car?
I have no idea, because his truck said 2 weeks before when we moved into that house, somebody took a baseball bat and keyed his truck.
Why would you tell her not to call the police?
I don't remember saying not to call the police.
Yeah, you did. Why would you say don't call the police? It's no big deal.
I have no idea.
Mr. Benningfield, you have no idea?
Right.
I have an idea. Let me see the estimates on the car and let me see the medical bills.
These are the hospital bills.
Give her the estimate.
And this is the estimate for my car.
Don't you have insurance on this car, Miss Bowman?
If she hits someone, we only have,
Liability.
because I'm a single parent, I can't afford the...
That's a lot of kicking damage on that car, sir. Need really heavy boots to do a kicking job on a car like that. Ms. Bowman, what caused you to break up with the defendant?
Because he was controlling and he was mean, and every time I went out with his sister, I get yelled at when I came back.
How old are you?
16.
How old are you?
19.
Did he ever use any drugs in front of you?
Well, okay.
Answer the question. The
Okay.
answer is yes or no.
Yes.
What kind?
Xanaxes. Can I tell you something? He was taking Xanaxes the day that this
What is
happened.
Xanax?
Xanax is a...
Depressant drug.
Right. For...
People that get panic attacks.
Right.
How long have you been taking medication?
Like, just pretty much the time we was going out.
Is that by a doctor's prescription?
No, ma'am.
What?
Yeah.
You take that on your own?
Yeah.
Where do you get it from?
Just my friends, people I know.
These people that you know, I assume with medical licenses, know how much to prescribe for you?
They wasn't prescribed. She's making me look like the bad person. She took them herself. She's done everything that I did, she's done.
Mr. Benningfield, the problem is that you caused some damage.
I didn't do that.
Oh, yeah, you did. Oh, yeah, you did. There's no question in my mind that you did. And there's also no question in my mind, but for the fact that you had taken this knife and were using this knife in a way suggesting that you were going to harm yourself, she wouldn't have gotten stabbed. Now, whether that was a result of taking... Try to pay attention. You're 19 years old. Trust me, you don't know everything. You think you know everything. Maybe you think he knows everything. You think you know everything? But for the fact that you probably are operating only on partial cylinders because of this medication that you're taking, sir, you reacted to her breaking up with you in a way that was off balance. Now, am I saying to you that she did the right thing by going out with your sister and still having a relationship with you? The answer is no. I think she acted like an immature 16-year-old. And your chronological age is 18, right?
Right.
Translated, probably about 9. And that's what 9-year-olds do when they don't get what they want. They hit, they scratch, they mark up somebody's walls, they do a whole bunch of things.
She had the police involved. She went and she was going to press charges against me. And I had to go up to Sellersburg Police Department to give them a statement. They said they couldn't do nothing. She supposedly gave them all kind of, witnesses that I supposedly admitted it to them. But them same witnesses, when the cop asked them, did he tell you this? They was like, no.
I don't care what they said, sir. I'm telling you, you trashed her car. You want to know how I know you trashed her car? Because I can see it. I can see what happened when she left and how angry you were. How angry you were even the next day, because you said that's why you grabbed the knife, because you were so angry, because you really liked her. And here she was telling you, I'm breaking up with you and I'm going to hang out at bars, friends, whatever, with your sister. And I'm leaving, bye, and she leaves you there all by yourself with your medication and your friend. Grow up. Listen, you both got to grow up. I give you some latitude because you're only 16. You're 19 and no genius, but you're going to pay for the damage. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount requested, which well exceeds damage to the car and your medical bills, $5,000. That's all.
You may step out.
I think it was a great decision.
It's crap that she can see these things.
2 girls told me he kicked my car and that he had a new girlfriend, but I wasn't worried about the new girlfriend. It was just a coincidence.
We was trying to work everything out when all this was going on, and then I just got tired of waiting, and I started with this other girl that I know.
Finally now, she knows. We all know the truth.
And then she found that out, and then she started suing me just to try getting money, because she's for money.
Don't date psychos.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Merrick versus Black. Step forward, please.
19-year-old salesperson Kathleen Merrick is suing her former friend, 19-year-old college student Catherine Black, for the return of a snowboard.
All right, Miss Merrick, you and Miss Black used to be friends. It is your claim that you loaned her a snowboard. While you were friends, you're no longer friends, you want it back. She said it was a gift, right?
Yes.
That's what this is about. When did the snowboard leave your possession and go into her possession?
About a year ago, around this time.
Tell me how that happened.
We were friends and she wanted to go snowboarding and I had an extra snowboard, so I lent it to her.
Where'd you get an extra snowboard
I had
from?
2 snowboards.
From where?
My mom bought them for me.
No, that's not true. Your mother did not buy both for you.
I had 2 snowboards at my house. I
didn't ask you whether you had 2 at your house. I said to you, where did you get them? And you just said your mother bought both of them for you. That's not true. One your mother may have bought for you. Where did the other one come from?
The other one was purchased by my mother too.
Where did the other one come from?
At first she bought one and she went snowboarding and she wound up doing something on the mountain and it broke. So her mom sent it away, and while her mom bought her a new one, while it was away, it shipped away. And by the time they got it back, she already had her other one.
I'm going to read you from your answer. You said it started in October when she broke up with her ex-boyfriend and decided to get back a snowboard that was given to him as a gift while they were together. Did you forget that you wrote that?
No, not at all.
We went and asked his younger sister to go up and get it without him knowing. Once we got it in the car, she decided she had no use for it. Doesn't that sound familiar to you?
Yes, Your Honor.
So according to your answer, she had given the snowboard to an old boyfriend as a present. When they broke up, the 2 of you went and took it back, right?
Yes.
And he wasn't there at the time. He got in the car and she said, I have one already, so you could have this one.
Yes.
I'm so glad at least I had my story straight. Does that sound familiar to you?
Yes. We went to go get the snowboard back from the person's house, and I had the snowboard, and I lent it to her to use because we were going to go snowboarding together.
Your Honor, she gave it to me as a gift because...
In the matter of Mendoza versus Orozco. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Well, you're the 2 fathers. Both daughters here?
Yes.
Yes. Why don't the 2 fathers sit down for a minute and have the 2 girls up here? Your first name is?
Cinnamon.
And yours?
Irene.
You were using your father's car?
Yeah, he's the primary owner, but we're both on the car.
He's the owner?
Yeah.
What kind of car were you driving?
2001 Kia Rio.
Is she a friend of yours?
Yeah.
How long have you known her?
We've known each other for about 3 years.
And you knew how old she was at the time of this accident?
Yeah.
And you knew she didn't have a driver's license?
Yeah.
Tell me on what day this accident occurred.
On July 4th.
And you tell me in your own words how she came into possession of the car, of your father's car.
We were riding around in Chino, where her father lives, and just looking around different stores. And then I had to go to work, and I had like a whole bunch of my clothes in the back. And we had like both of us come up with the idea of, well, since I'm at work and I don't get out till like way early in the morning, she said, well, maybe I could take the clothes to my father's house. And I said, okay, that sounds fine. I trust you. And so I gave her the keys to the car, and then she took the car, and I was at work, and then after that I got a phone call at work that my car had been in an accident.
Did you ask her if you could have the car?
No. It was a mutual decision that if she drove to work, and I would drive the car back to my father's house.
Did you have any discussion about you not having a license?
Yes.
Tell me about that discussion.
She was like, you don't have a license, and I was like, I know. I don't know. It's just I don't have a license, and then she was like, well, I was like, oh, I'm a safe driver, and she was like, okay.
Now, how did you have this accident?
I was, after she had dropped, I took the car I got on the freeway, and I was driving back to Chino. We were in City of Industry. I was in the farthest left lane, but not the carpool lane, I guess the fastest lane. And
fastest lane,
I was going
without a license.
I was going 65.
Yeah.
And
she's going 20.
Okay, I was going 65.
Anything. Go ahead.
There was a blue van on the side of me and a white Camry tailgating me, and there was a car coming up on the carpool lane. Half of the car was in front of the Kia, and then it started moving into my lane. The white Camry was...
It's getting too complicated. How did you have the accident?
I'm telling you.
Well, it's getting too complicated. Did you hit somebody or did they hit you?
No, nobody hit nobody. That's what I'm telling you.
Well, just tell me, the car flipped over, the car hit a guardrail?
No, I slammed on the brakes to avoid hitting somebody, and it hit the back end, hit the guardrail, and I swerved to the exit lane, by the Diamond Bar exit.
Okay. All wouldn't have happened if you weren't behind the wheel of the car.
I know.
And maybe wouldn't have happened if you weren't driving in the passing lane.
I know.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what's the damage on the car?
The total damage came to about $7,000.
Mm-hmm. Now I'll have the fathers up here. With the girls. Stay with the girls. Mr. Roscoe, you are divorced from your daughter's mother, is that right?
Yes.
Who does she live with?
Her mother.
Is that by a court order?
Yes.
So her mother has custody of the child?
Yes.
And you pay child support?
Yes, I do. Where I used to, not no more.
No more because she turned 18?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Mendoza, according to your complaint, you contacted the mother
Yes.
of this young lady, and you said it is your view that this accident was the fault of both girls,
Yes.
so that you should split the cost.
Exactly.
And her mother said, okay, I'll pay $1,500, and her father should pay $1,500.
Well, originally, Judge, what I had intended to do was file a claim for $5,000. Total damage was about $7,000. What I did then...
File a claim against who?
Against both of them for
Both of whom?
$5,000. Both her father and mother.
I thought you were going to file a claim for $5,000 against your daughter.
No.
Why not?
Well,
it's her fault.
Well, I felt it was both their fault.
Oh, did you?
Okay. So because of that, I figured it was only fair for me to file a claim, not for $5,000, but make my daughter be responsible for more than half of the damage, because she was equally at fault for giving her the keys. So I figured it was $3,000 settlement would more than justify it. So that's what I did. I went for the $3,000. Irene's mother said she agreed with that and paid me $1,500. She said I would get the other $1,500. I would have to get the other $1,500 from Mr. Orozco. I then sent a letter to him stating this.
Why didn't you send a letter to your insurance company?
Because the insurance company will not cover it.
Why not?
They said that because of the driver involved in the accident was under 25 and did not have a license.
Right.
We did contact the insurance company.
Of course you did. And they disclaimed because you gave the car to your daughter to drive, your daughter did the wrong thing, and your insurance company wouldn't cover the damage.
Exactly.
Why do you think that he should?
Well, because his daughter was driving. I felt they were both irresponsible, so why not?
He doesn't have custody of his daughter.
He had custody at that time. They were staying at his home.
Judge Judy. 18-year-old Cinnamon Mendoza says she loaned her car to friend 18-year-old Irene Orozco. Cinnamon claims Irene drove it on the freeway and wrecked it.
Her mother cannot obligate him just because she says, get the other half
I didn't
from
ask her
him.
to obligate him. I asked him for it. I didn't say anything to her about obligating him.
It was aware to us that her mother said on the divorce decree that they had joint custody, but Irene chose to live with her mother, and they have 2 other sons that live with him, but they do have joint custody.
What does Irene do now? Does Irene go to school?
I have a full-time job. I was going to school, but I couldn't pay for it to go to JC.
But now you have a full-time job.
Yes, and I need to pay this off. If I had to pay my my aunt back.
For what?
Because she let my mother borrow the $1,500.
Oh, she did. So first you paid your aunt back.
I need to pay my aunt back. That's why I got a full-time job.
Oh, that's fine. And now you're 18?
Yes.
What kind of work are you doing?
I'm working at fast food right now.
Are you living at home?
Yes, I do.
So you have no expenses until you pay this off?
I'm paying my bills that I have, the phone bill, and whatever my expenses, my personal needs, my clothing, my shoes, everything.
Right. You see no reason for your father to pay this, do you?
No, I don't.
Good, I don't either.
I think that's unfair, but that's up to you.
Oh, I don't think that that's unfair, Mr. Mendoza.
Yes, it is.
I will draw an analogy for you, sir. Let us assume that Irene, instead of being 17 years old at the time of this accident, was 10 years old. Still a minor, right? Still a minor, still had no driver's license. And your daughter said, you want to take the car for a little spin? She's 10. You think her father should be responsible?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Well, that's your opinion. My opinion is he should.
No. In the eyes of the law, she's the adult. She's 18. You have given her, you have deemed your daughter responsible enough to drive, to be totally responsible for the safety of a weapon. Car can be used in the hands of somebody who is not responsible as a weapon. You gave her that responsibility. He didn't give his daughter the responsibility of driving the car. I don't know how old you have to be to get a license. 16, 17, 18? What do you have to be?
17 and a half.
17 and a half. So for some reason, she did not have a driver's license. Now, I don't know whether that's because her parents decided she wasn't mature enough. Her parents decided that it wasn't the right thing when she was 17. But she didn't have a driver's license. So her parents said, no driver's license for you. You said to your daughter, not only can you have a driver's license, you can also have a car. They didn't make that choice. You did. And if your daughter wasn't responsible enough not to safeguard that car and not give the keys to somebody who was not equipped to drive it, I don't see why they're responsible at all. The fact that you got $1,500 from the mother is a gift. He's not responsible. If she wants to do the right thing, she'll pay you back the money. So could a 3-year-old.
But she's still driving her mother's car.
So could it, at the time of this
without
incident,
a license.
that has nothing to do with it. Then if she's in an accident, if she's driving her mother's car without a license, if the car is in an accident, they could lose their house, they could get their wages garnished, they could lose all their bank accounts. I'm talking about you and your daughter. You felt as if your daughter was responsible enough so that you could give her a brand new 2001 car and said to her, this is yours, be careful with it, be responsible with it. She acted irresponsibly. He did not give his daughter permission to drive that car. In effect, you did, because your daughter was acting as your agent. So I think that if you want to do the right thing from your now full-time job, you will see to it that your friend gets her money so that she is not responsible for these damages anymore. The fact that the insurance company disclaimed, there's a good reason for that. The insurance company disclaimed because they said you had no right to give an underage, uninsured person the keys to the car. I say the same thing. This case is over.
Why does that excuse you? They step out.
She came home and said she had an accident, and first she told me it was her.
He should have taken responsibility, never handed the keys to my daughter.
It caused a lot of tension, but we're still friends. I mean, it's money.
We're not.
Money's an object, friendships, forever.
I was just happy that she's alive.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter, Smith versus Smith. Step forward.
60-year-old singer Myrna Smith is suing her daughter-in-law, 33-year-old computer specialist Candy Smith, for an unpaid loan to hire an attorney.
Mrs. Smith, the defendant is your daughter-in-law.
Yes, she is.
According to your complaint, there came a time when your daughter-in-law needed some money. She needed some money for an attorney because she was going to be involved in a custody dispute with her former husband. You have 2 children from your prior marriage, and you loaned her the money, $5,000, and it is your claim that she has not repaid you.
She has not repaid.
And your daughter-in-law believes that she has the right to offset that money, and she's going to explain that to me. When did you make this loan?
I made the loan May 1st, 2000.
Do you have the canceled check?
Yes.
Can I see it, please?
And this is also my statement.
Okay, what was your agreement with regard to repaying this loan?
She told me what she would do would, on her pay days, she would deposit money into my account. However, that did not happen, so finally I went to my son and I asked when she would start making the repayments, and she decided that she would make the payments, but she wanted to put them into my savings account instead of my checking account, and I felt she had no right to know what was in my savings account. And she was very inquisitive about my money and how it was spent.
Okay, and as of today's date, you have received no money from this $5,000. And you acknowledge that, but for your defense, you did not repay this money out of paychecks or anything else.
No.
Okay, now I'll hear your defense.
Actually, what happened was that at this time, when we had moved into the house, she had given
What
me...
house?
We had purchased a house together. She had actually sold her previous residence, and she had used the down payment to purchase a house so that we all can live together, and we were sort of helping each other out.
And help yourselves as well.
Right, and help
All right,
ourselves.
so what was the arrangement? She put the down payment on this new house.
Correct.
How much was the down payment on the new house?
$100,000.
She put down the $100,000 on a house that you were all living in together.
Correct, it was under my husband's name.
Was there a mortgage on this house?
Yes, there was.
How much was the mortgage?
$185,000.
And I gather from your papers that you and your husband make the mortgage payments.
Correct.
How much were the mortgage payments?
$1,703.
$1,703. And how many people from your family, you and your husband, you have a child together?
Yes, we have 1 child together and 2 children from my previous marriage.
So there are 5 of you all together.
Correct.
And how many people, other than your mother-in-law, were living in the house?
The grandmother and also the uncle.
Grandmother or uncle paying any money towards the house?
He needs to answer. I can't answer.
Step up. Mr. Smith, how much money was your uncle paying to the house?
My uncle was scheduled to pay $400 a month, but unfortunately that rarely happened.
What about your grandmother?
No, nothing.
Okay. How many months did you live in the house?
If include January, 8 months.
How many mortgage payments did you make? Because that's your defense to this action. How many mortgage payments did you personally make?
Roughly 8 months.
You have proof of those payments?
Show her proof that you were paying mortgage.
What is that?
This
is the household account that my son and I had to make payments for anything regarding the house. This is how our bills were paid.
Can I see? And I'll see your checks for the mortgage payments.
Unfortunately, that I do not have. I didn't know that was going to come into question.
You have a bill, though, right?
I have a bill.
No, I don't need a bill. I need the mortgage payments. Your defense, Mrs. Smith, is that it wasn't working out and the house was going to be sold, wasn't working out with all you folks living together, and your mother-in-law insisted that the deed be turned back to her. It was, and you believe that you can set off the number of mortgage payments that you made on the house against the $5,000 that you owe her. That's your defense.
No,
in a
not
nutshell.
exactly. Not
Well,
exactly. I'm sorry. Can I clear this up? Okay, my defense is that because of some illegal activities that took place, we had no other choice but to move.
No. I don't want to hear that.
Yes, we had to move out of the house within 2 weeks. We had told her we were selling the house because of what was going on. With the money that we had, we had to actually use a lot of money to leave the house when we shouldn't have had to leave the house.
Is that your defense?
We shouldn't have to have...
Just a second. Is that your defense?
Well, yes.
That because of what you perceive to be some illegal activity that was going on in the house, you chose to move, which was a very good judgment, and you believe that your mother-in-law owes you money, the money that you had to spend to find a new place.
Right. That is included with the money that we spent with the mortgage. This is all tied together.
Well, so I'm going to eliminate your first defense. Your first defense is no defense. Now let's get to the mortgage payments that you say you made. Do you have any other checks?
And the only checks that I would use for the mortgage payments was the household account.
Okay, and who put money into the household account?
It was my wife, myself, and then my mother.
And your mother?
Yes.
Well, how much money did you put into the
And my brother.
Just a minute. How much money, and the $400, and how much money did you put into the account every month?
$1,900 a month I put into that account.
Now, my next question to you is the house was sold.
Actually, my son went and got a $20,000 loan that I didn't know about.
Loan for what? Against the house?
Yes.
Did you get a $20,000 loan against the house?
Yes, I did, ma'am.
Did you pay it back?
I didn't have an opportunity to.
No, did you pay it back?
I was paying the loan back to the people that I got the loan from.
Did you put in any money towards the down payment?
Towards the down payment, no.
So she has $100,000 in the down payment. Right. Right?
Correct.
She has $100,000. You have Zippo. You can't offset. I mean, first of all, you can't offset it anyway, but it's not even reasonable to offset it. Because if your mother goes to sell the house now, there's a $20,000 loan that you took out that's going to be deducted from the sale price of that house. Did you consult with your mother before you took out this loan? Did she say it was okay?
I didn't need to. I didn't need her permission on that.
Well, you don't need her permission on this either. You
Well,
owe her $5,000. That's what you owe her. That's what you borrow. That's what you repay.
Down in the matter of Marafino versus Wages. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Ms. Marafino, you and the defendant were married, divorced, and according to your complaint, tried to reconcile. The reconciliation did not work out, and it is your claim that the defendant has a television set that belongs to you, in addition to other personal property.
Yes.
The defendant says that the television set was a gift to him, and he has a counterclaim. The counterclaim says that you cleaned out his bank accounts, that you owe him for some medical bills, and some important papers that he wants. Is that right?
That's correct.
So let's get some dates. When did you try this reconciliation?
I moved back in on December of 2000.
For how long?
I moved out again on March 20th.
Okay. And when did you purchase this television set?
March 2nd it was purchased.
What kind of television?
It was a Mitsubishi large screen, 50-inch, I believe.
A man's television. You want me to tell you how I know that, Mr. Marafino? Bert, don't look so disgusted. I'm going to tell you. I have a lovely living room in my house that I spent a great deal of time trying to make just perfect. Right in the corner as you walk in is this monster 55-inch television set that is the ugliest thing I ever saw. It's not mine.
This one's mine, Your Honor.
Okay. So tell me the circumstances surrounding you purchasing it.
We discussed it, and I said that I would buy it, and I bought it. There was no mention of a gift. It was not a gift.
It's not true.
Just a minute, I'll get to you in a minute. At that point, you were living together as a family. Is that right?
Correct. We were not married at the time.
I understand, but you were living together as a family.
Yes.
How are the bills being handled?
My income and his income went into one joint account, and they were paid out of that one account.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Where did the money come from for this television set? From the joint account or from your individual account?
You have to excuse, I only have a copy of my tax income return.
Just answer my question.
Okay.
The money, did you pay
Was
cash?
a tax income refund.
Just a second. Did you pay cash for this television set?
It was a check.
From where?
Our joint account.
That's what I'm asking you, so let's just get to it. What you're saying is you both pooled your money into a joint account.
Yes.
And from that you paid all the bills.
Yes.
And when you got your income tax refund, it went into the joint account.
Yes.
And it was from the joint account that the television was paid from.
Yes.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Now, you explain to me why, sir, you believe this was a gift to you.
Basically, I had wanted a big screen TV, and we were saving up money to make that purchase or whatever. She said she was going to be getting her income tax check back and put it in the account, and that she was going to buy this TV for me as a present. And eventually we were going to save up some more money, and the agreement was that eventually we would purchase a hot tub, basically. That's what she wanted.
Did you get a tax refund that year?
Did I get a tax refund? Yes, it was after we had separated already.
Let's say, sir, that this was not a gift to you. this was something that was purchased for the household,
Okay.
then you would have to distribute the property. Now, let's say this came out of joint funds,
Mm-hmm.
but you kept the property, right?
That's correct.
And it's brand new property. It's not something that was purchased 10 years ago.
That's correct.
You got to pay for it, unless you want to give it the television set.
That's correct.
Oh, then we've resolved the whole issue.
Well,
How much was the television
Your Honor,
set?
Your Honor.
$1,960.
I have a
Your
letter
Honor.
here, though, stating that she had accepted her losses and that she's moved on.
Your Honor, that was
And-
before I filed the lawsuit.
Just a minute. I'll take a look at your letter. I'll take a look at your letter.
That was a letter I received a few days after she had come and taken everything.
You mean you want me to read the part where she says, I've cut my losses with my possessions and have moved on?
Right, correct.
Give her the money for the television set, sir. You watching it? You watching it? It's in your house?
Yes.
Then you pay her for it. It came out of a joint account. But as you said, most of it was paid for, or if not all of it was paid
All of
for
it,
out of
Your Honor.
all of it was paid out of her money, and the expectation was you were going to save up more of your joint money and buy her what she wanted. The relationship terminated before that, so she never got her end of the deal, which was her hot tub. Right?
That's correct, but...
Good!
Okay.
$1,960 television set. Personal property. What kind of personal property are you talking about?
My son's sporting goods stuff. I had a police escort, so there wouldn't be any problems. The police officer told us both that whatever he said I could have is what I could get because he owned the home. I asked for a walkthrough of the house. I didn't really see anything, and the TV was nowhere in the house. Anyway, my stuff and my son's stuff...
Where'd you move the TV?
Your Honor...
Where'd you move the TV? It's a big TV to move. Where'd you move it?
to a friend's house.
Why? Why?
Because I didn't want any trouble. I didn't want to be fighting and starting a fight. We had problems with our relationship. She left. She cleared out the whole...
I'll get to your
checking and
counterclaim in a minute, sir. Do you have her son's sporting equipment?
Yes, I do.
Where is it?
It's in the garage.
Good. You give it to him. What else?
That's...
Assorted clothes, assorted kitchen stuff.
Forget it.
A treadmill.
You have her treadmill?
Your Honor, that treadmill was at the house, and when she came to get her possessions, she said that it would not fit in her house, and she left it on the back patio.
It's still there?
Yeah, it's still there.
You want to make arrangements to go and get it? Go and get it.
Well, Your Honor, it's been out in the rain. It was...
Should have filed your lawsuit before. You're not going to get money for it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Maria Marafino says ex-husband Felix Waichus owes for a big screen TV and the return of her property.
Now, you say that she cleaned out a bank account. What bank account did you clean out and when?
It was our joint account, basically the day after she had left.
Can I see it?
It's all highlighted, the amounts and the day she had done it.
Just a minute. Just a minute. Did you withdraw money from the checking account?
There was $1,400 in the checking account. I took out $700.
There was two right in a row there, Your Honor, one for $700, one for $726 right underneath it.
Yeah, and you must have took that out because, Your Honor, I did not.
Well, there's one on the 25th and there's one on the 26th,
Right,
sir, so I can't tell. You might have taken one out the next day. Is that possible?
Not that I recall, I did not.
Well,
I mean,
not that you recall.
Well, I know for a fact I did not.
Fine. She was going to clean out the checking account. She would have done it on the same day.
Also, Your
well,
Honor...
now, Your Honor, on there, on the second page, you can see she went back into the account the next month and withdrew more money out of the account. She proceeded to use...
You're talking about $41.75?
Your Honor,
And
I
she
did
had
take
told me-
$40 out, and $175, I think, was a little ATM charge.
Why did you take it out the following month?
Because I needed food, groceries.
Okay,
I
but
went
you'd
out
already
with...
taken out your half.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So he gets credit for $41. Okay. Now, the savings account, you took
There
the
was
whole thing.
$305 in the savings,
Right.
and I took out $300 of it.
That's not half. Did you both put money in the savings account?
No, Your Honor, he has a business account that he was putting money in as well that had over $1,000 in it at the time.
No, that doesn't answer my question. Were you both putting money in the savings account?
Yes.
Then you were only entitled to half, not the entire amount.
Okay.
So he gets credit for $150. Okay.
Can I explain why I'm actually asking for more money?
No, I'm not interested why you're actually asking for more money.
Well, Your Honor...
I'm not interested. Anybody who takes the television out of the house so that it's not there, I'm not interested in what they have to say about that. You took out half. You have half. Now, let's hear about the medical bills, sir. That's another part of your counterclaim.
When we had gotten back together again, I had received an income tax check. I had signed the income tax check over to her to get a breast enhancement, and basically I figured if she could give this TV as a present to me and ask for it back, that was a present to her.
He'd like my implants back?
Forget it. What's next? It's an interesting theory. Let's go. Next. Papers.
She has papers from the house, mortgage papers and everything like that.
Is the house in your name?
Yes, it is.
Those his papers?
Yes, ma'am.
Give them to him.
This was in one of the garbage can bags that he packed of my stuff.
It's not
They're all
very
there.
organized. 191. So $1,769 for the television set if he's going to keep
Your
it.
Honor, that's out of a joint account. I don't understand that.
Is it back in your house?
Yes, it's in my house.
You've moved it back.
Yes.
Pay for it. Even
It's
listen
just-
to me. Listen to me. Even if I take what your excuse for this television set was as gospel, the agreement was that since she was getting the money at that point, and you want, I'm speaking and you're not receiving,
Okay, I'm hearing what you're saying, Your Honor.
that the television set was going to be purchased first, and then when you got your money, your tax refund, you would purchase the hot tub with your money that would go into the joint account because that's what she wanted. Well, that contract was never fulfilled. It was never fulfilled because I'm speaking and you're not receiving. You're going to try to talk around me, over me, through me. It's not going to work. Your contract, therefore, with her was not fulfilled. And she gets either the television back or the money for the television back. $1,769 judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
After now, we will never be together again.
I think he's a selfish, evil man.
And now the next case.
All parties on Moeller versus Stevens. Step forward, please.
Commercial pilot Doug Moeller is suing his neighbors, Roger and Jackie Stevens, and their son, 17-year-old Brian. Doug says Brian purposefully damaged his daughter's bicycle. The Stevens are countersuing for the cost of a bike and damage to their screen door.
Mr. Moeller, it is your claim that the defendant's son damaged your daughter's bike.
That's correct.
The defendant says that he caused no damage to the bike, and they are counterclaiming because they say that their daughter's bike was stolen from your backyard and it's your fault. B, that your son tore a hole in their screen door. You weren't there during this bike incident?
No, ma'am, I wasn't.
I'd like you to sit down.
Okay.
And your children up here. Now, you weren't present either, is that right?
Correct.
So you can sit down, leaving the alleged perpetrator standing. When did this happen?
Around midsummer last year.
Tell me about the day.
We went over to see my cousin that I always play with.
You have to speak up because I can't hear you. Tell me your first name.
Timothy Moeller.
All right, Timothy, keep your voice up. You hear the way I'm talking?
Yeah.
Try to do it.
Okay.
Good. Okay, go ahead.
Brian started jumping up and down on the bike.
That's Brian.
Yeah.
What were you doing on the bike?
I was sitting on it. I've never seen a bike like that before, so I was testing out the shocks.
Testing out the shocks.
Right.
And how, Brian, were you testing out the shocks?
I bounced up and down on the seat a couple times and lifted the front tire off the ground about 2 inches and then let it go.
It was a girl's bike, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't.
It was a boy's bike.
Yeah.
Big or little?
It was big. It was a 20-inch.
Your Honor, could I give you a photograph of the bicycle as
Yes,
evidence?
I'd like to see it.
This is a photograph of the bicycle with the bicycle license, and it shows that these are actually children's bicycles. Quite a bit smaller than an adult would be riding.
Mm-hmm. Small?
I didn't think it was.
Small?
Okay.
Okay. Who told you you could get on the bike?
Nobody.
Can I see the wheel, please? How old are you?
17. I
So,
was
get a
16
job
at
and
the
pay for the wheel. Wheel's all bent. Wheel's all bent. Would you step up, sir? Okay. We'll make very quick work of this part of the case. Your son got on a bike without permission, tested out the springs, didn't ride it the way it was supposed to be ridden, and they say as a result of that, the wheel was broken. So?
Well, according to
My witness, my daughter and my son, when he got off, it was still on the kickstand. She got back on it. She rode home on it. We felt that if he had done it, she would have went home. If she'd have done it right then, she'd have went home and told her father, hey, Brian just damaged my bike. But the story that we got is that the next day or so, he noticed the damage, came to the children and said, what happened to your bike? We're not sure. We think maybe when Brian was on it, you know, and so we just don't feel that he did it. It may have happened later. And,
well, what you feel is irrelevant.
Okay.
Relevant facts are he got on a bike without permission. He was testing the shocks.
Okay.
He's a big boy. He jumped up and down. I mean, at least he's telling the truth. Now, when you went to ride the bike home, did you see anything different in riding the bike?
The bicycle wheel was rubbing up against the side of the bike.
And did you feel that before he had gotten on the bike to test it?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Okay, so now I need the bill. I mean, it's not malicious, it's not terrible, but you pay the bill. $106, is that what it cost?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Now, let's get, what?
Your Honor, could I speak for just a second, please?
Sure.
What we've heard here is in a large part a fabrication. In fact, I'd like to call Michelle Stevens as a witness, if I could, please, Brian.
Second, sir, you just won your case. Why do you have to call
Well,
anything?
I know, but there's a little bit more than $106 involved here.
What?
It cost me $27 to file this in small claims court in Wichita, Kansas.
Oh, okay.
And there was more damage to it than just the wheel. The handlebar extensions were damaged, the pedals were damaged, the bicycle seat was torn up.
But I asked for the bill to fix
Yeah,
it.
you got the bill.
You
That's
got
correct.
the bill, $106.40.
That's correct.
That's the bill that you gave me.
That's correct.
So?
Well, I guess that's the end of the story then.
That's the end of the story.
All right.
You just
Okay.
won. Sit.
Very good.
This is not a major toxic waste pollution case.
I understand.
This is a bent bicycle wheel. All right, let me get to the bottom line of your case, which I've read. Let me see if I understand it. Your daughter was playing over at their house. The plaintiff wanted to go someplace. And according to you, he said to the kids, why don't you just put the bikes in the backyard? The daughter put her bike in their backyard. The bike was stolen. And based on that, you believe it's his fault.
His responsibility.
No, that's wrong. How old is your daughter?
13.
So she had the capacity to say, I'm going to go put my bike in my garage?
Which she did. And he said, no, just put it in our backyard. We won't be gone very long. And both of the girls' bicycles got stolen.
You want to go further and tell me about this torn screen?
This is just
When did that
what I
happen?
get from the kids. This was last summer.
Did you tear the screen in Mr. Stevens' house?
No, ma'am.
You have a witness with regard to the torn screen?
Yes. My
I'll
son.
hear you, Brian.
I was inside the house, and these two kids and my sister were inside, and I was trying to watch TV, and they were being loud, so they went outside. I locked the door, so they were locked out. I heard a noise at my window, and I opened the curtain, and Timothy was there with a stick poking a hole through.
Did you poke a hole through the screen? Did you replace the screen?
No, but I have an estimate to have it replaced.
You went through a whole summer with a screen with a hole in it from a stick?
Yes, ma'am.
Get a patch. I can understand why you're aggravated, but it's unfortunate that people who had a rather pleasant relationship have any tension because of this. That's your fault. They're all a lot younger than you are. So the first thing that happened was you locked your sister and her two friends out of the house because you wanted to watch television in peace. Is that what happened with the screen? Stupid. Then you got on a bike, jumped up and down on the bike, not your bike, and bent the wheel. Also, stupid. As a result of that, two families, which had, I assume, gotten along reasonably well together if you let your daughter go with the plaintiff before, have any kind of friction now. Very, very stupid. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $133.
Ms. Morris. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Young lady, have a seat, please.
All right, this is a little complicated. Let me see if I can simplify it. Ms. Dawkins, according to your complaint, about a year ago, your boyfriend was arrested and was incarcerated. The defendant was a friend and also was a paralegal by trade. You claim that you paid the defendant $2,500, that she said that she had an attorney who would be very good for your boyfriend, and that the $2,500 was a retainer. And then later, when he was given a public defender, she said that she would work with the public defender to file motions and do other things in her capacity as a paralegal. Is that correct?
Yes.
Subsequently, you found out from the attorney, the public defender, who had been assigned to represent your boyfriend, that he told her to stay out of it and not do anything. So you want your $2,500 back.
Right.
Is that this case?
That's it.
Ms. Morris says that the $2,500 was in fact paid to her, but it was for the return of a loan. Now, first tell me, just my own information, what was your boyfriend arrested for?
It's for a murder. He's still in prison right now.
And he still has a public defender.
Right.
Did the attorney who Ms. Morris said that she had that would be very good for your boyfriend, did he ever appear in court?
No.
When did you give her this $2,500?
In November 2000.
Did you give it to her in check or cash?
I sent her a money order with cash.
You have a copy of that money order?
Yes.
I'd like to see it, please.
Well, Western Union. Receipt.
I'd like to see it. I'd like you to tell me, Ms. Dawkins, about the discussion that you had with her when you sent her this check.
Like you said, my boyfriend had went to prison, and because of that, we called on Paulette for legal advice, and she told us that she would see what she could do. And she told me that he would need a lawyer, and she had a friend that she was going to talk to. So she did that. I talked to Paulette a couple days later, and she told me that if I got $10,000, that we would be able to retain this lawyer. All I had at that time was $2,500, and his mother tried to come up with the rest of the money, but we couldn't. So he was given a conflict panel attorney, and we left it alone because we knew we weren't going to come up with the rest of the money. Then she told me that she had spoke with his attorney and that they agreed to work on that.
The attorney who was assigned
to assigned to him, yes. She told me that she had spoke with him and that they agreed to work on the case together, but since he got paid through the state, that I would have to give her the money that I had already had, the $2,500, for her to file the motions and to do some research on her own on my boyfriend's behalf.
Is that when you sent the money?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I sent the money from out of state because I was out there with some family. When I came back from out of state, I had got a hold of his attorney, and he told me that he told Paulette not to get involved with the case because she couldn't do anything but hurt it. I got suspicious about it because I had talked to my boyfriend. He told me Paulette had not attended any court dates since I had sent her the money.
Okay. Ms. Morris, I will hear you.
First of all, Your Honor, I've never seen or met Jessica before in my life. This is my first time ever laying eyes on her. As far
You were
as
a friend of her boyfriend's?
Yeah, he calls me Mom. I'm kind of like a mentor to him. And
Not such a good mentor if he's in jail for murder.
No, that...
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Prior to him being arrested, I've been helping him try to find a job. He really was pushing the pedal and finding a job. He eventually found a job. The date that he started his job, he got arrested, being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Prior to that, I had loaned the ex-boyfriend a total of $1,200 to help him with her to move into an apartment complex to get on his feet. And he told me that he would pay me back $100 a month. Mom, I will pay you $100 a month until I pay you back. And that's fine, it's no problem. I'm a gambler, Your Honor.
So, you loaned him $1,200.
I loaned him $1,200.
Right.
And what he asked me to do was to find him an attorney, which I did. I had a friend who practices in criminal law. I have never, and I really get offended when someone refers to me as a paralegal because I've never even held myself out to be a paralegal. I don't even do paralegal work.
I'm not following you, Ms. Morris. Is it your claim that you loaned the ex-boyfriend money and this $2,500 was repayment of that loan?
$1,200.
$1,200.
Okay.
Okay.
Now,
no, is that your claim, that $1,200 is a repayment of the loan?
Correct.
Okay. And what's the rest of the money for?
Okay. I went on behalf of him and I've gathered a lot of information out on the streets that I could get a lot better than investigators could get. And I gave the information to an investigator for the attorney. And at some point I didn't feel comfortable with it, so I gave the rest of the information to the MET unit, which is like a SMASH unit, a drug unit. In the meantime, Randy called me and asked me if I would take, first he called my daughter to ask if she would take his son because his son was in some very serious danger. The son at the time was only 14 months old. Miss Dawkins here was in possession of Randy's son when the murder occurred. He was begging my daughter to take the baby. My daughter couldn't. So he says, I'll ask Mom. And I told him I would do it for $2,500 until he gets out because raising a baby is not cheap. They couldn't come up with the full $2,500, so I said, okay, the 12 and the 13, $2,500, I will go ahead and do it. When you get out, him, the ex-boyfriend, and her were supposed to take the baby. Well, it ends up that he's still there. He's not in prison, Your Honor.
Where is he?
He's in a county jail. He's not been tried. He's not in prison. The case
in
is
county
still
jail.
pending.
He's whatever.
Yeah.
He's not free.
Right.
Where did you get this money from, Miss Dawkins?
I had it saved up. And I have
This
a letter.
is your money?
Yes. I have a letter from Randy showing exactly why she took the money. It doesn't say anything about a loan that was given to him or...
This is the person who was
That's
incarcerated.
in jail, right.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jessica Dawkins says she gave money to her ex-boyfriend's friend, Paulette Morris, so she could retain a lawyer on his behalf. Jessica says Paulette blew the money.
Let me tell you the problem with your defense, Miss Morris. Your loan agreement was not with the plaintiff. Your loan agreement, if I believe you, was with a person who was incarcerated. And there is no proof that the person who was incarcerated paid that money, that she paid the money.
However, there is, Your Honor.
Tell me what that is.
The reason I'm being brought here today is because Ms. Dawkins found out that my daughter Kyla here, who was really close friends with Randy, was seeing Randy. She found out about that, and that's when holy hell came about. Her problem is between her and my daughter and Randy. I'm
How
being
old is your
drawn into-
daughter?
My daughter's 19 years old.
What do you mean she was seeing Randy?
My daughter had a boyfriend at the time. Jessica was with Randy at the same time. They were all kind of hanging out and having fun together. I had no idea that they were seeing each other, you know, other than being friends.
Let me ask you this question, Ms. Dawkins. Did you ever have a telephone conversation with the defendant?
Yes.
When
Several.
did you have that telephone conversation?
I've had several conversations with her.
Relative to the $2,500?
Probably around June or July that I spoke with her and asked her about the money.
What do you mean asked her about what?
Because this is when I found out, this is when I had got back and I had spoke with Randy. He told me she had not been to his court dates. Since I gave her the money, he hasn't heard from her. So I had called her up to see what was going on with that money and why she wasn't doing what she promised. And that's when she told me she had the baby, and I have never had custody of Randy's son, ever.
Who asked you to send this money?
She asked me to send this money to her.
Did you speak to Randy first?
Yes, but he did not tell me to give her the money. I didn't speak with Randy that much because they're collect calls. I can't speak with him that much. I spoke with the defendant, and she told me she would need the money to file motions and do research.
Miss Morris, where is this child now?
The child is residing with me. In January, I will be adopting the child. I have a letter here from Randy as well, asking the judge court, and it is in the papers as to him wanting me to take the baby. As far as me not going to Randy's court appearances or anything, he requested me not to for the safety of the baby.
Well, this letter does not give you the ability to adopt the child.
No,
I have. Give his consent.
I have the.
Did you file a petition to adopt the child?
I have the petition for guardianship.
Guardianship is not adoption.
No, I have. The laws have changed within 1 year. In January, the adoption procedures will be. Will start exactly.
Can start. His parental rights have to be terminated. Where's
within
the mother?
1 year. The mother is in a youth halfway home. She just got out of juvenile hall.
Are you paid any money by the state?
Now I am.
Morris?
Yes, I am.
Let me finish. There is a procedure that is used in this country. It's called kinship foster care, or foster care with someone that you know. So the state gives you money every month for taking care of the baby. How much do you receive from the state?
$406.
And how long has the child been with you?
The child has been with me since January 2nd. I began receiving payments in about March.
So March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. So you've received 8 payments?
Approximately, yes.
Is that right? So you've received $3,200 so far. So this money that you say he's supposed to give you for taking care of the child, you have been reimbursed for taking care of the child.
Oh,
by
yes.
the state.
I had no choice.
By the state.
Right.
By the state.
And what happened was when the child was brought to me, the child came to me with just a shirt, a dirty diaper, and a bottle. I had to completely furnish a room, completely buy all clothing, all items that a baby would need to
The
sustain
state
him.
also gives you a stipend for that clothing allowance.
No, I got that later on.
But I know that you get a clothing allowance and a stipend, and also money to furnish a room.
$100.
I know that you get. I know that you get that.
$100
So don't say no. You do. You get $100 for what?
a year.
For what?
For a clothing allowance.
Okay. Well, you get $400 a month. The child that age doesn't eat $100 a week.
No, he doesn't.
Okay.
But the child wears diapers. The child had bottles.
Right.
The child needed clothing.
Right.
The child has daycare. I work.
No, you don't pay for the daycare for the child.
Exactly. It comes
exactly.
from the money.
So don't tell me you have daycare because the state pays for the daycare for
No,
the child.
it comes out of the $400.
No. The state pays for daycare with daycare vouchers if
That
you're
is
working.
not true, Your Honor.
I don't know what state you come from.
He's not a foster child, Your Honor. He's a ward. He's my ward. I'm his legal guardian. When I do put him into a facility, once he's potty trained, it goes according to my income.
So who babysits for the child?
Whoever I can get to babysit for him.
Who do you get to babysit for
Usually
the
my
child?
relatives or some really
Right.
close friends.
Okay. Good.
And
I
also,
gotcha.
Your Honor, here...
I gotcha.
Okay. On the other point, the papers that I'm showing here where I did give Randy the money for him and the apartment for him and Jessica, which they both were dwelling in, is here. My daughter have been there.
You're living in an apartment that she helped fund?
No, I didn't know anything about that. If she helped Randy fund an apartment, then Randy needs to pay her back.
Right.
Did
right.
she reside
I did
in the
not know.
apartment?
Doesn't make any difference.
I didn't know anything about any
The
money that
loan
he
was
gave
not
her.
made to her. The loan was made to him. If you had a misjudgment, Miss Morris, with regard to the person to whom you made a loan, you can't visit that on her. And there is no proof that the money that she sent you, the $2,500, came from Randy.
I know it didn't come from Randy.
Well, if it didn't come from Randy, it has to go back to her. And if he ever gets out of jail because you say he was in the wrong place at the wrong time, then I assume that he will be acquitted of these horrendous charges. And at that time, I assume he'll pay you the money back that he owes you. But that's not her responsibility. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Parties
Your
are
Honor.
excused. You may step out.
I honestly believe that it was behind jealousy because of my daughter and her ex-boyfriend.
There are plenty of men out there. I don't need to hold on to someone that's in jail that's going to mess with someone like that.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Luster versus Fair. Step forward.
22-year-old makeup artist Kelly Luster is suing her ex-boyfriend, 33-year-old general contractor Herbert Fair, for unpaid credit card charges and for the balance of a computer.
Miss Lester, according to your complaint, the defendant is your former boyfriend.
Correct.
And there was a time when you allowed him to make purchases on a credit card.
Correct.
When you broke up, you put a stop on that credit card and said that you no longer wanted him to be able to make purchases on it. And the next day or something, he made $677 worth of payments on the credit card. You say that there have been no payments on that amount, and you want him to pay you that amount because you're not together anymore, and you don't want to be bothered with him and come chasing him, and the bank is looking for you, and it affects your credit.
Correct.
In addition, you allowed him to purchase a computer on your credit card.
We opened up a gateway account, and it was under my name because I had good credit. And we paid the payments together. We lived together for about 3 years, and the payments were fine. We paid them together. And as soon as we broke up, I was paying the payments, and the computer remained at his house.
He agrees that he put that money on the credit card, $677.
I do.
And what's left on the computer is what?
The amount is $1,357.88.
Now, Mr. Fair says he did pay for a substantial amount of the computer, and he does acknowledge that there is an additional amount owing on the computer. His defense is that he made some sort of a loan for some plastic surgery that you had.
It doesn't matter what the loan was, Your Honor. I just basically...
He loaned me money.
I lent her money. I just...
Well, that's what you say in your
but
answer.
doesn't
So you
matter
want
what
to
it
tell me
is.
about this loan that you say negates the $677 as well as the $1,357 that's left on the computer that is in your possession.
This is true.
Well, tell me.
Well,
What
basically,
loan did you
know,
make her?
I gave her a loan. It doesn't really matter what it was. I mean, I was with her for 3.5 years, and I was basically, putting her through school and doing some things, for her. And basically, I felt that I didn't have to make the payments no more on the computer because of so much money that I had invested into this relationship
Your Honor,
as well.
Your Honor, I paid him back the loan that he gave to me. So that has nothing to do with the computer. I paid him back every single dime that he lent me. So it has nothing.
Did you?
Yes.
But she was supposed to pay me back, but she didn't pay me back on time.
But I still paid him back. He was still paid back. I mean,
how much did you borrow from him?
I borrowed $3,000 from him, and he was paid back every single dime.
Is
He
that
wasn't
correct,
paid
sir?
back exactly.
I was paid
the
it
time.
back, yeah, but not the time that I was told that I was going to be paid back.
Were you paid back before you broke up?
Yes.
Yes.
So it wasn't an issue.
Yeah, so I don't even know why he's even bringing that up. I think he's just using that because he knows that he owes me for these things.
So what is your defense, sir? I don't know what your defense is, Mr. Fair. If that's
Well,
not your
basically,
defense.
I mean, like I said, you know, 3.5 years of being into this relationship with her and stuff, and I took care of her basically for 3.5 years. I felt that I didn't need to pay these both bills, and these are basically it between her and I. So.
As you can see why I don't want to be with him any longer. I paid him back every single dime that...
He says that you paid him back.
Yeah, and it has nothing to do with the money that he owes me. And he knows that he owes me this money, and he's just trying to make excuses and make up stupid things. I even have proof. I have the bills, if you want to see them.
He doesn't deny the bills, Miss Lester. He doesn't deny the bills, and he doesn't have a defense. So judgment
never does.
Judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,034.
Thank you,
That's
Your
all.
Honor.
Lemke versus Mungo. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Ms. Lemke, the defendant was a former boyfriend of yours. According to your complaint, he owes you for 3 things. He owes you for money that you loaned to him at one point when he was facing incarceration. He owes you for the value of a car, which you say you purchased, although it was in his name, it was supposed to be your car, and that he owes you for damages as a result of an assault that took place over a year ago. Is that right?
That's correct.
I assume that the loan that kept him out of jail was the first money that you're suing for. Is that right?
Yes.
And tell me the circumstances surrounding that loan.
John was, faced going to jail for child support arrearages. And the day that he was to appear in court, we took the bus up together. And then I overheard his, discussion with the DA and that he needed $750 to take him, him out of jail. And we agreed that I would, loan him the money and that he would repay me when he was able to.
Well, how did that come about? What did you say to him and what did he say to you?
Well, what I said to him was that I had $750. Just don't worry about it. You can repay me, when you're able to. I have $400 cash in my wallet, and we can go down to an ATM.
Tell me about, sir, your version of the $750, which you acknowledge that the plaintiff paid in order to keep you out of jail.
The $750, Lynn had offered to give me $700.
Tell me how it came about.
Oh, I was trying to do that.
No,
before we went to court, several days before she...
Look at me.
Yes, ma'am. She volunteered, said, I could give you some money to stay out. And I said, absolutely not. I don't want to do it because I would feel obligated. So a few days went by, and I was supposed to turn myself in. So we went, and then when we got into out in the hallway, the public defender said, well, do you have the money? I said, no, I don't. Lynn says, I have it. And he said, well, are you going to use it? I said, absolutely not. I don't want to, because I feel like I'm obligated. I cannot pay her back. And then she said, he said, well, do it. I said, no. So he left. And then he came back again and said, why don't you do it? And I said, well, and we thought about it. And I said, he convinced me to do it. I paid it, and then we went home, and that was it.
So it's not your fault, and it's not her fault. It's the public defender's fault.
No, she offered this money to me in front of Mr. Coleman here.
Just a second, but you said
yes.
that you declined to take it.
Yes, I did.
Because you would have felt obligated to repay it.
Yes.
And then you said that the district attorney or the public defender forced you to do it.
He did not force me. He coerced me into it.
He coaxed you to do it, and you did it.
Yes.
And I assume, therefore, that your initial reason for not wanting to take the money in the first place still held true, that you would have felt obligated to repay it. That's what you just told me.
That's correct.
So you took the money, and I assume you still felt obligated to repay it.
I did?
Well, then I'm asking you that. What happened, sir, between the time you walked into the courthouse when you would have felt obligated to repay the money if the plaintiff gave you the money and the time you actually took the money?
She told me it was a gift, and I
Is that
would
what
not
you-
have to pay her.
That is-
Absolutely.
No.
Well, Mr.
No, she
Coleman
didn't
here
say-
heard her say it in his house.
Just a second, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
She never used the words gift. This is a gift that I'm making to you,
Yes,
John.
she did.
No. She never did.
Well, that's not what she's telling you.
That's not what I believe.
Oh.
I would believe it if you told me, because I don't know if I'd believe anything you told me. I certainly wouldn't believe it if he told to me. I'm telling you, she didn't give you the money. She may have said to you, I want you to take it, and you can pay me back when you can.
Yes.
That she might have said. All right, let's move on to number 2. Let's move on to car. How much did you purchase this car for?
$625.
$625. So it wasn't a Jaguar.
No.
And it wasn't a brand new car.
Absolutely not.
And you had no driver's license.
That's correct.
So you purchased the car and you put the car in his name.
Not at the time of purchase, but yes, eventually.
When did you purchase the car?
June 29th.
What were you going to do with a car that you couldn't drive?
Well, I had wanted a car for a long time as...
just to look at it?
Friends had known, of course not.
Well, what were you going to do with it?
Have other people drive it for me so that I could get around until I have a driver's license.
So you must have discussed with him driving you around.
No, not necessarily Mr. Mungo, my roommate John Coleman.
Oh.
And no decision had been made whether it even be either one of these persons, people.
Whatever. You put the car ultimately in his name. Tell me when.
It was in July.
So you went down to Motor Vehicles and put the car, after you had it for some time, in the defendant's name.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Mungo, according to you, there came a time when plaintiff came to reside with you in your home. Is that right?
Yes.
When was that?
Let me see here. I have the date right here. It's on the bill of sale that we used, a copy of the bill of sale that we used for the transfer of the automobile, which was dated 7/18/2000.
That's when she came to live with you?
Yes, came to stay with me.
How long did she stay with you?
2 months and 5 days.
And according to you, Mr. Mungo, your arrangement was that she could live with you rent-free and give you the car.
Correct.
Miss Lemke, did you pay any rent? Miss Lemke, pay attention.
No, I did not, and I do not remember that document at all.
Look at me. Could you look at me?
Oh, I beg your pardon.
And was it about the time you went to live with him because you had problems with your old roommate? That's why you
Well,
moved
he
out.
locked me out of the house,
Your old roommate locked you out of the house?
Yes.
And you went to live with Mr. Mungo. And at the same time that you went to live with Mr. Mungo, was that the time you went down to Motor Vehicles and transferred the title to the car to his name? That's what he says.
No, when I went to live with Mr. Mungo, I was only going there for some place to sleep the night I was locked out.
But you stayed for 2 months.
That's correct, and I contracted bronchitis, had severe pneumonia in
All the time you were in
August.
Mr. Mungo's house?
Yes, I was.
And you did not pay any rent?
While I was taking care of him.
Shh. You did not pay any rent?
No, but I bought food and whatever, yeah.
You did
no,
not pay
I
any
paid no rent, no.
Oh, okay. And he took care of you when you were sick?
No.
Who took care of you?
I took care of myself.
Okay. Let's get to item number 3. Tell me about this alleged assault. When did it take place?
September 11th.
What happened on September 11th?
I mentioned something about the car, the subject I would avoid because of his fiery temper whenever the subject came up. There'd been a lot of verbal abuse.
So you started to talk about the car. He didn't want to talk about the car.
He ran from the back of his house in a fiery rage and punched me as a boxer's punch right here.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lynn Lemke says ex-boyfriend John Mungo owes for an unpaid loan and the return of a car. Lynn also claims John charged her in a fiery rage and punched her.
You have a police report.
The police said that a police report could not be issued.
Police issue a police report when there's an assault. Do you have any photographs of your injuries as a result of the assault?
Yes, I do.
Can I see them, please?
That was a couple weeks later. This is about 5 weeks later. 6, maybe.
Okay, let me hear your version of what happened on this date on September 11th.
Well, Miss Lemke is an alcoholic, and she was drinking 24/7 every day for 2 months. her idea of being
For the
sick
2
with
months that she was living with you?
Yes. Her idea of being sick with bronchitis is drinking a 1.7 liter of Jack Daniels and barfing all over the place. I had my son at my house. He was, I believe, 3 years old, and she was told when he's around and you're drinking, please do not talk to him and leave him alone. We were in the bathroom, and she came in and she grabbed me by the arms. She was shaking me and screaming at me, and I could see the fillings in her teeth. And I broke loose from her, and I went outside. And before I went outside, my little boy was hitting her on the leg like this, saying, stop. He could see that there was this anger, and it was getting him upset. So we went outside, and my little boy kept trying to protect me, and then she went to grab him. And as she grabbed him, he kind of turned upside down, and she spiraled down into the brick fence, and he kind of kicked her in the face. And
Oh my God, that's an outright lie.
basically, I just was horrified. I said, "Oh, you've got to go." I didn't want her to be there anymore. And she kept
I
wondering.
don't know why she was there in the first place, sir.
She was there because she was so combative with John. He couldn't have her living at his house anymore. He locked her out.
So she had other places to go. She could rent a room someplace. Go
Yes,
to
she
Y.
could.
So why was she living with you, sir? You tell me she's an alcoholic. You had
I
your
wanted my
3-year-old
car
son.
back.
I think
That's
she
what
was
I wanted,
crazy mad
and
in
I
love
was
with me,
sick.
to tell you the truth.
Well,
We were having a torrid love affair.
You were having a torrid love affair
At times.
with somebody who you say was a complete alcoholic? When you have a torrid love affair with someone who is blind on Jack Daniels for 2 straight months.
How?
Yeah.
It's not hard.
Not for you, maybe. Not for you, maybe. Okay. What happened as a result of this assault? Were you ever contacted by the police?
Police, well, when after this happened, I picked, my son was supposed to go home to his mother. I spent the night over there. I didn't want to come back home. And apparently the police came out, and the policeman said, I think, ma'am, you must have fallen off the porch and hurt yourself.
Don't tell me what the police said to her.
Well, he was there to hear it.
This is
Hearsay.
unbelievable.
Okay. Hearsay?
Hearsay.
Oh,
This
okay.
is.
Okay. Oh, yes. Go ahead.
You're despicable.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
Thank you very much.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
Quite frankly, Miss Lemke, if someone had assaulted me, causing this kind of injury,
Yes.
then there would have been a police report, there would have been a police prosecution for domestic violence.
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks later, I went to court. I went to jail for domestic violence, Your Honor.
And I cannot understand, madam, why you would not follow up on this case that happened over a year ago. Why?
I've been sick for months.
Okay, you're going to get your $750 bail money back. You are not going to get your car back because I do believe Mr. Mungo, and believe me, it was a real stretch because it's hard to believe him about a lot of things. I do believe that he agreed to have you live there rent-free in exchange for this $625 car that you would put in his name anyway. As far as your request for damages with regard to the assault, I am not quite sure how this happened. And it is quite possible that you were, in fact, intoxicated at the time, and you're not sure how it happened either. So this is the judgment of the court. You keep the car, and you give her $750 for the bail money. You got me? Good. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Lady Smirnoff?
Well, he bought alcohol for me.
I think she's still in love with me, and she just wants to have some type of contact.
In fact, he had stated he liked me better drunk than sober because he wanted anything from me.
And now the next case.
All parties on Astuto versus Curley, step forward, please.
23-year-old secretary Joan Astuto is suing her ex-fiancé, 25-year-old tile setter Sean Curley, for half the cost of a wedding that never happened.
Mrs. Studo, according to your complaint, you had a long relationship with the defendant, spanning a little over 5 years.
Yes.
You have a child together.
Yes.
And at some point, you decided to get married. He proposed and gave you a ring.
Yes. I picked it out. I put down 80 towards it, and he put the rest.
Okay, how much was the ring?
It was a little over $200. I put down 156.
Okay. And then there came the time when you started to plan the wedding. And you put some money down on various things for the wedding. A hall, a DJ, all totaling about $700. And then in September, you decided this was not going to work out. You called off the wedding and moved out, right?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you put the money down on?
The reception hall at the Spartan Manor,
How much was that?
$600.
Yeah.
and 95 towards the DJ.
Who was going to pay for the wedding?
We were both, but I put down the money for the DJ. And
Tell me the discussion that you had.
Well, I discussed on where to have it, and we agreed at the Spartan Manor, and then we went together to the reception site and put down the deposit.
Okay, and how come you put down the deposit?
Because I was the one who had the money.
I didn't have the lump sum of $600 to put down at the time.
At the time?
Yes, ma'am.
And what about the DJ?
I told him how I was booking that DJ, and he agreed.
I don't remember anything like that.
How did you think this wedding was going to get paid for?
Very slowly.
What do you mean very slowly? What does that mean?
Basically...
Don't look down. Look up at me.
Okay, sorry, ma'am. Week for week until it was paid off. The $600 was a down payment, and then they wanted payment after that every week, and I would have to pay that.
Oh, that's perfect. So it was your intention, Mr. Curley, despite your answer, that you intended to pay for this wedding together.
Yes, ma'am.
So why don't you think you were at least partially responsible for the down payments that she put down?
She kept the engagement ring.
Did you keep the engagement ring?
Yes.
Oh, well, he has to be given credit for that. Why didn't you give it back to him?
Because he left.
So what?
I also paid $80 for that wedding ring.
Okay, but he paid $156, right?
Or how about I just give him his ring back?
Oh, fine. Where is it?
I can do that. It's at my house.
Oh, it's easier. So I don't have to deal with that later. We'll just take off the $156. The entire cost that you put down was $700. Half of that would be $350. So that's $194.
I also left my house, gave it to her, $48,000, fully furnished. We have a child together, and I left them two in the house.
How much equity is there in the house?
Nothing. We just bought it a year ago.
How much of a down payment did you put down?
A little over $1,000.
So you didn't leave her with a $48,000 house, you left her with a $47,000 debt. You have a daughter together?
Yes, ma'am.
Paying child support?
Yes, ma'am.
How much?
I pay, right now it's not court ordered, but I'm paying $88 every week. We do have a court date for that in a couple weeks to determine child support.
And do you visit with your daughter regularly?
No. I haven't seen her since Christmas Day of 2000.
Why is that?
She has not let me see her.
Why is that?
I've told him he can come to the house and pick her up, and he refuses.
I've had threats from her house.
You know, I've done in the last
Just a
5
second.
years for
Just a
him
second.
enough. I am, you know, I'm not his mother. I don't want to be his mother anymore.
I'm not interested in whether you want to be his mother anymore. So you say that you've told him that he can come to the house and pick up your
numerous
daughter.
times.
What does he want you to do?
He says no. He says to meet me at the police station. This weekend I called him to meet him at the police station. I talked to his girlfriend and argued with her on the phone.
Just a second. So he was smart and he indicated to you, just meet me for pickup and delivery at the police station. If he's afraid of some altercation that might take place when he comes to pick up the child in your home, then usually when I was full-time sitting family court judge, I would make pickup and return in some neutral place where there were people around so that would avoid confrontation between two people who don't get along. So picking up and returning the child at the police station is a very good idea.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He has to see his daughter. You have absolutely no right to keep the child from him. None. And I would assume that when you go to court, you make sure that you tell the judge when you go to court, Mr. Curley, that what you had suggested because of the problems was a pickup and return in a neutral spot, and she had rejected that.
Yes, ma'am.
There's no question that the court will order visitation because whether it worked out between the two of you or not, your child has a right to spend time with you.
Yes, ma'am.
So judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $194. That's all.
561 on the calendar in the matter of Decker versus Moore. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mrs. Decker, the defendant's dog bit your son on the face.
Yes.
The defendant does not deny that her dog bit your son, but her defense is that you failed to supervise your son, and that's really why he was bitten. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. When did this happen?
On September 9th.
Where were you?
We were at Riverside Park in Grand Rapids at a Indian powwow.
How large is this powwow? How many people attend the powwow?
A couple hundred.
Was it crowded?
Fairly.
What time did it happen?
Approximately between 3 and 3:30 in the afternoon.
Where was your son?
We had gotten back with food, and he was about 5 feet behind me. We were sitting in the booth.
What booth?
My friend's stepfather owns a jewelry booth, and then her mother has a candy booth, and we were with them.
Who was watching your son?
He was amongst all the other kids.
How many other kids?
4.
You didn't see this attack?
No.
How old is he?
5.
Is he smart 5?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your name?
Connor.
Connor. Connor, would you come and sit up here for me? Because I can't see you over that high table.
Can you get up there? Here we go.
Hi, Connor. Do you know who I am? You know what
Judge Judy.
Right. Do you know what my job is? Do you know that you're in a court? Do you know what happens in a court? Did your mom tell you?
No.
Well, let me tell you. In a court, 2 people have a disagreement, and I'm supposed to make a decision as to who's right and who's wrong. You understand that? So it's very important that the people who tell me things in court tell me only the truth.
Mm-hmm.
You know what the truth is?
Yeah. People tell the truth.
Hopefully, they always tell the truth. Do you always tell the truth? Do you remember when you were at the powwow in Riverside Park? Remember that day? Do you remember the day you got bitten by the dog?
Yeah, it did.
It did what?
Bit me right here.
Do you remember what the dog looked like? Don't remember. That's maybe a good thing.
He does.
Was it a big dog or a little dog, Connor?
Big.
Did you go up to the dog to pet it?
Yeah.
And what happened when you went up to the dog to pet it?
Her asked me if I wanted to pet it, and I said yes. And
Who asked you?
the lady, and I said yeah, and I said it to pet it, and it bit me.
So the lady asked you if you wanted to pet it. Did any of the other children want to pet the dog?
Shane did, and it bit him.
It didn't. Show me where the dog bit you, Connor.
Right here, right here, and you can't really see that one.
Did the lady who had the dog help you after the dog bit you? Who came to help you?
My mom.
Okay. All right, Connor, you can go and sit down over there. Okay. What happened immediately after your son was bitten?
When I heard him scream, I got up. I had put my food down, turned around. Somebody was holding him. I don't know if it was the defendant or my friend's mother. I wasn't even paying attention. I immediately grabbed him. Somebody was handing me paper towel, and I was going for first aid. And I saw out of the corner of my eye the defendants headed towards the parking lot with the dog.
What kind of dog was it?
A white Malamute.
That's a pretty big dog.
Yes.
Connor went to the hospital?
Yes.
And what happened at the hospital?
We waited for approximately 5 hours, and then they sedated him and gave him 9 stitches in the face.
Did you have consultations with plastic surgeons with regard to the scar on his face?
They do not want to see him until the scars are at least 6 months old.
Now I'll hear your version of the story.
We were at the Indian powwow the 9th of September. My friend Wolf Runner and his wife had booths. There are thousands of people there. It's a very large Indian gathering.
So it's very crowded?
Very, very noisy. A lot of people coming and going. We were behind his booth. The 3 children that were together, my friend Wolf Runner introduced to me as his grandchildren. Connor being one of them, and the other boy being another, and there was one other. I don't know his name.
There were a lot of other dogs there?
Quite a few, on leashes, just like mine. We kept mine by the booth. The little boy, brother, had pet the dog. I was sitting right there. The dog was on his haunches, sitting. Not a problem. We were very careful. He is a big puppy. He's still a puppy.
How old is he?
He's 1.5 years old. I have pictures.
I'd like to see the picture.
Okay. We were in back of the booths getting ready to say goodbye to my friends Bonnie and Wolf Runner. The dog was sitting on his haunches. My friend Rick, my witness, had the dog by the leash. I had him by the collar. The little boy wanted to pet him. The dog never got up off his butt. He petted the dog's nose. My dog never growled, barked, nothing. I don't know what happened. He turned his head. The dog, within a second or less, grabbed his face. Rick had him down on the ground. I picked the little boy up. He was still standing. I called Bonnie, who I thought was his grandmother. That's who I was introduced to. And Bonnie came running out, and I handed the little boy to his mother, if that's who it was. And the dog was never loose nor anything.
I understand that.
Yeah.
There's no question that the dog was on a leash.
Right. And after the bite, Wolf Runner said, "Get the dog out of here. I don't know what agitated it. Get him out." I said, "Please let me know as soon as possible." And he said he would.
Okay. Step up, please. Tell me your name.
Richard Skyo.
Mr. Skyo, if you were to relate to me the events of that afternoon, would they be pretty much consistent with what the defendant had just told me?
Yes, ma'am.
So the little boy did absolutely nothing to the dog?
No.
The little boy came up, touched the dog on the nose. The dog did not flinch. He didn't torment the dog. He didn't spook the dog. And the dog, when he turned his face, the dog just went for him.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Autumn Decker says her son, 5-year-old Connor, was bitten in the face by Marie Moore's dog.
It's not a difficult case. Here we have a situation where you have a child who's been injured by your dog. I don't even have to ask you whether your dog has bitten anybody else before.
No.
I assume not.
Never.
But the dog did bite this child.
Yes, he did.
And who should bear, first, the financial cost of the doctor's bills, etc., with regard to the dog? Clearly, you have to do that. You know, it's always difficult when you take a dog to a large gathering. I'm a dog owner, and I know that even my little dog gets a little nervous when they're around so many, she said hundreds, you said thousands of people. When you have a big dog that's around thousands of people and there are kids, you sometimes run the risk of your dog becoming more agitated than normal, more anxious than normal. So you are clearly responsible. I don't think that you're bad people. You did have your dog on a leash, but you're clearly responsible. I don't buy into this sometimes artificial statutory scheme which says that every dog is entitled to one bite before the owner's liable. In my view, which is, I believe, the common law view of this kind of situation, you have an innocent party and a guilty party. The guilty party had a dog, it looks like a lovely animal, but certainly capable of doing damage, and did damage, and you're responsible, absolutely. Your request for judgment is for $3,000, which I assume includes your medical bills and whatever plastic surgery Connor is going to have to fix that scar on his face. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He filed enough papers in our county that they came to my home and took my dog and killed him.
Any dog that bites, especially a child, should automatically be euthanized after the quarantine.
The lady asked me if I wanted to pet it, and I said, yeah, and I came up to pet it, and it bit me.
And now the next case.
All parties on Punterero versus Peach. Step forward, please.
22-year-old student Corinne Punterero is suing her ex-roommate, 22-year-old student Rebecca Peach, for breaking a lease. Rebecca says she moved out because she needed gallbladder surgery.
Ms. Pontuero, according to your complaint, you and the defendant know each other from college, and you had decided to room together for this coming year.
Yes.
When did you sign the lease?
Last year.
What month?
I believe it was in April.
And at some time, about a month later, the defendant decided that she did not want to live with you, and you've had to move into this rental by yourself. You want her to pay her share of the year's rent.
Yes, it's a 3-bedroom apartment. There's me and one other housemate. And with her not living there, we're responsible for her rent. Our landlord is now taking us to court for her part of the rent. In the lease, it says that no matter what, you're jointly and severely responsible for fulfillment of the lease.
Severally, not severely, severally. Let me have the lease, please.
I have this from both years.
Okay. When did you change your mind?
I actually have an email I've written to Corinne. It's dated June 12th that states that I won't be coming.
It's dated what?
June 12th.
Okay, you changed your mind June 12th.
It wasn't so much changing my mind. I was very ill. Corinne and I were disagreeing. It was not a very good living environment for myself. And I have doctors, notes, everything. It was impossible for me to come back to school.
So then what did you do to try to get a new roommate?
With me being sick, it was hard.
What were you sick with?
I had my gallbladder taken out 2 years ago. I vomit a lot. I throw up a lot. That's why I had written her the email to let her know that I won't be back, that I'm going to need help with this.
Let me see the email.
I have it highlighted of where I said I wasn't going to be back.
You were all supposed to move in on the end of August. Is that right?
Yeah.
And according to this lease, the landlord wanted payments for the rent in two parts, $4,000 in the beginning of one semester, and then in the spring semester, another $4,000. The spring semester doesn't start until when? February, March?
January.
January. And what you're suing her for is really 1/3 of the entire lease. Is that right?
Yes.
I don't know about this vacuum cleaner and television set.
Your Honor, I also have an email dated June 12th also. She never said anything about being sick. She never gave me that reason.
We were fighting. I didn't feel the reason. I need to explain myself.
Well, it's a rather nasty email, and it seems to me a lot of other things going on other than just your former gallbladder condition, Ms. Peach. You had an obligation to try to locate a third roommate to take over your obligation under the lease.
I understand that.
You have an obligation to what they call ameliorate your damages, which means you too have to make an effort to locate a third roommate.
We posted these all around campus, and usually when everybody looks for an apartment, you sign a lease well ahead of time. Right now, everybody in school already has signed leases for their living arrangements next year. So finding a roommate now is next to impossible because everybody already has their apartments.
Well, at this point, yes, but probably not in June, and certainly not for the spring semester.
Well, we've been looking. We found
because
somebody.
situations change, so there is no way that I'm going to grant you an award for the entire amount of the rent that's due and owing, because the spring semester is a whole different scenario. Having had kids in school, I know that after a few months in college, situations change. And kids say, I don't like living with you, and I don't like living with you. I'm going to look for a new roommate. You make new friends, so you can find yourself in a position of filling up that third bedroom, which I'm sure you use now occasionally anyway. You have visitors come up and they use that room?
Actually, it's pretty empty.
That's not what I asked you. I said, do you sometimes have visitors, friends come up and use that room? Parents, anybody
Not
else?
that room, no.
They don't use that room. It just stands as a shrine to the defendant. What's next?
If I may interject for a second.
Sure.
The TV we had bought together, I had left her half the money for it when I moved out in the summertime. And the vacuum cleaner, I don't remember us having one second semester because our first semester housemate took it with her. We didn't have a vacuum the second semester.
Well, that's what some of the other things she's suing for, a vacuum cleaner and a television set.
I had gotten a phone call from the Fredonia Police Department about me stealing a television and a vacuum cleaner. Now, when I went up to school, I made sure nobody was there. I took all of my stuff out, left her half the money for the TV we bought together, which was $60.
And did you take the TV?
And I took the TV with me. And I did not take the vacuum. I'm living at home. I don't need the vacuum cleaner.
At the time, I didn't know she had left the money because my other housemate had set it aside for me, but she wasn't home. So I went to the police department and I filled out this report, and I find it hard to believe that the TV and all her stuff would be gone, along with the vacuum cleaner.
Well,
but
she
didn't
says she
take
took the TV, but she left you money, which you acknowledge because
Yes.
your roommate had the money.
Yeah, she
and
took
just
the money.
didn't tell you, so you included the TV in the police report that you filed against her, and the TV should not have been included in that police
Well,
report.
she says that we bought the TV together, and we did not. I bought it on my credit card, and I have the receipt here if you want.
We split that.
Well, it's very possible you put it on your... I'm not going to get involved with $60 for a television
That's fine
set.
too, but I did not take a vacuum cleaner.
There's no proof that you took the vacuum cleaner. What's next?
Well, I have all the copies of the bills from last semester. That some of them we still owe, some of them are in her name, some of them are in mine.
I just got a $617 phone bill in my name, which I don't know why it's still in my name, but I just received this phone bill from the phone company.
Let me see. Why don't you, Bert, instead of my looking at them, why don't you have them exchange these bills and look at them?
Your Honor, I acknowledge these bills.
Good.
What I want to say is that I never received them to pay them.
Okay, so there are $624.17 in bills that she says that you owe from last semester, and you got a phone bill for $600.
And $17, yes.
Right?
Actually, all these numbers are her numbers. They're all in Long Island. They're all West Palm Beach.
There's Buffalo and there, Williamsville from her town. So
Well, I will be glad to go through them and find out which ones are mine, but the vast majority of them are from hers.
Let me see. You expect me to go through all these charges?
No.
Good. then step outside. Call you back in 5 minutes. Here, Bird, send them outside, please. Thank you. Okay, so who was Talkie Sally?
Well, I went over the long distance bills, highlighted what I owe, everything from the Buffalo and Buffalo area, and I owe $9.30.
Is that right?
I guess so. I didn't really look at it.
What do you
She
mean
had
didn't
it. She
really
had the
look?
calculator. I was.
All right, so let me see the entire phone bill, please. All right, Miss Peach.
Yes.
So from your phone bill of $617, the plaintiff owes you $9.30.
That's fine.
So it's a good lesson. Miss Peach, your lesson is as follows. How old are you?
22.
If you're 22, you're an adult. When you're an adult and you enter into a contract, you are obligated to fulfill your contract. You're no longer a kid. But you have an obligation, too, to reduce your damages. You can't sit there with a 3-bedroom apartment and say, well, now I have a bedroom for myself, a bedroom for my roommate, and I got a whole area for storage. Don't play with paper when I'm talking to you. It's rude. So I believe that you are entitled to this semester's portion of her rent for the fall semester, because I agree with you that it could have been difficult in June to try to find a new roommate. That doesn't mean that I believe that you can't find somebody else for the spring semester. Now, that doesn't mean that you necessarily don't have a cause of action against her if, in the spring semester, after a good faith effort to locate another roommate, you're not able to locate another roommate. This award will cover this semester's rent, clear, plus your utility bills from last year. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,948. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Trên tay mình đang cầm đây là cái sản phẩm kem chống nắng mà rất là nhiều người mê, và đó là kem chống nắng Sufficient, cực kỳ là hot, và với cái giá thành mà để chúng ta sở hữu một cái dòng kem chống nắng như thế này thì nó rất là phù hợp. Và đối với dòng kem chống nắng Sufficient Classic thì có cái dung tích là 100ml và SPF thì lên tới là 50+, PA3+, là một cái sản phẩm chống nắng vật lý và đặc biệt là dành cho các cái làn da nhạy cảm và rất là ít gây cái kích ứng và bảo vệ cái làn da khi mà bị tổn thương bởi cái môi trường bên ngoài, với cái tỷ lệ vàng của các cái bộ lọc UV vô cơ và hữu cơ. Và đối với dòng kem chống nắng CNC này sẽ giúp ngăn ngừa lão hóa da do cái tia UV và cái khả năng chống tia cực tím rất là tốt, và nó sẽ không gây cái kích ứng da, ngừa các cái ngăn ngừa các cái dấu hiệu như là lão hóa sớm, và nó bao gồm các cái sự xỉn màu và da khô. Và đối với dòng kem chống nắng này, nó còn tăng cường cái độ đàn hồi cho da và sẽ giúp cho cái làn da của chúng ta được khỏe mạnh hơn. Và cái thành phần có trong collagen thủy phân là một trong những cái loại collagen tự nhiên, và nó có cái khả năng là củng cố và là cái hàng rào và cái độ đàn hồi của da. Ngoài ra thì nó còn có cái acti là một cái thành phần tương tự như là Botox, nó sẽ cung cấp cái độ đàn hồi cho da và giúp da tránh cái tình trạng là bị chảy xệ. Và đối với dòng kem chống nắng Food CNC này, nó còn có cái khả năng là nâng cái tông cho da của chúng ta rất là tốt, và nó không gây đổ dầu. Chính vì vậy mà chúng ta có thể sử dụng cái dòng kem chống nắng này để thay cho cái kem lót khi mà chúng ta muốn trang điểm.